There would be a lot that would be ready for
Okay.
purpose.
Okay, all right, 6 o'clock, so let's start with this. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Just noting that we do have a quorum tonight, and has the members had a chance to review the minutes that were circulated? Can I get, are there any corrections to those minutes?
But I wasn't here, so I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
Same, I was not here, so I'll abstain.
Okay. So can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Adam, can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Great, thank you. So the first matter we have on is the Killearn Road applications for wetlands permit and scenic road improvement permit or authorization. So we had opened a public hearing on both applications last month, which was kept open until tonight. And the town's representative has come forward to discuss the application, Dan Collier.
Yep.
Of Collier Engineering. So, how do we want to start? You want to start, Aaron?
Why don't
you?
the applicant start with an update since, and what they submitted and what's changed since last time, and then we I can go through some stuff and then open the hearing?
Yes,
Okay.
perfect.
Sure. So since the last time that we met, the main thing that we reviewed with the town highway superintendent was the topping for Killearn Road. It was decided that the chip and seal, otherwise known as stone and oil, that treatment will not be used, and instead it's just going to be a normal stone topping that will be specified. The exact mix, we don't know quite yet what it will be. It will look like other roads that have been recently worked on by the town forces. Shady Dale Road being one of them, and forgive me, the other one, is it Bonnequest? Is that?
Bontecu.
I'm sorry?
Bontecu?
Bontecu, yes. So that will be the look of Killearn Road when it's all done. Also, we took all of the public comments, which were summarized by AKRF. We responded to them in writing so that you have those for the records. We were able to review a few items that we didn't have answers to the last time that we met here in person, and just provide some more clarification. The last item that I think would be noted was the vegetation that was talked about. The amount of vegetation that is specified to be removed or affected is 0.7 acres, roughly 31,000 square feet. It does sound like a lot, but in an email I tried to describe it. If you take 3 miles of road and you try to figure out along 3 miles of road how much clearing is that, it works out to be about a foot to each side of the road. So in some areas there's not any clearing, we're just staying within the limits of the road. In other areas it could be 3-4 feet off. On average, if you just think about a foot to the side of the road, that's roughly the amount of vegetation that would be affected for that whole corridor.
Could I ask a question? Or
Sure.
the decision to use the stone dressing rather than the oak stone, as we discussed last time, was there a reason for that? Was it cost?
Some of it was cost. Also, I believe that I don't want to speak for Joe if he's not here, but I believe the quality of what he's getting out of the mix that was used more recently is something that he's satisfied with and being able to maintain moving forward. So that was the decision that was made.
So that's the town's choice.
So that's his, he approves of that decision, the board approves of that decision.
As far, I mean, the conversation was directly with the with Joe. So
Yeah, can you just elaborate a little bit on the the vegetation? One of the things you noted was that really not, there's no mature trees that are going to be affected, right? Because they would have to
Right.
be worked around.
We will, yeah, we're going to have vegetation notes on the plans that anything that is a mature tree, it's not the intent of the project to cut it down. The contractor's going to have to work around those areas. There are a few spot areas where there is a mature tree, 24-inch diameter or something even larger that is right up against the road. It's not the intent to remove those. It's just branches that are in the way, woody brush that's in the way of the swales, and then any other grass-like vegetation that's going to be affected by the grading.
So even if there's a tree abutting the road, you're not trying to get a uniform width of the road the whole way through?
No,
so
we're
you
not
cut
able to,
down trees,
yeah,
you're just not
correct.
able to.
Yep,
Okay.
yep. And I believe the intent of the scenic law is not to have those trees cut, only in an emergency situation where something is, creating a danger to the traffic. Would the highway superintendent then have the ability to remove that? But this is not that kind of a project.
Okay.
So AKRF, we did submit a new memo. It's long, but it's just takes the comments from the previous meetings and keeps them in there. So anything that's bold is new information or new comments. So we talked about the vegetation. For the seeker process, the town board is lead agency for that, and my understanding is that they will, at their 8/14 meeting, be considering, if the hearing is closed by the planning board, they'll probably be considering a determination of significance or a negative declaration that evening, which they've asked AKRF to help. The attorney for the town board has asked AKRF to help prepare.
So that's if we close the hearing tonight?
Technically, yeah, I mean, you can't take any action unless the seeker process is completed by the town board. It would be good to have the public hearing out of the way so that they can act too. But you can't make an action, you can't do any action as far as like the approvals you have to grant, which are
Have to wait till
the scenic road standards or the scenic road approval. It's not really it's not a site plan, it's not a special use permit, it's like a scenic road project approval, and the wetlands permit. Those are what's in your court. But you really can't act on those until the town board does seeker, which they're close to being done with. So just an update on that. We had some comments about the plan set, which aren't a big deal. If these are, because of these, I assume these are gonna have to go out to bid and everything, and they're not really like totally engineered
Correct.
fully yet. The comments about us asking to show specific areas where there's gonna be widening versus not widening, maybe that's just not totally known yet, but if you didn't respond to that particular comment, but if that's something that you're prepared to speak to now. you can,
So,
but-
yeah, we can definitely clarify on the plans areas where there is a little bit of widening. I do want to just make sure everybody understands it is not a uniform
Right.
widening of the road
That's
the
why
whole
we
entire
asked for
way.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it is, in some areas, it's a little tough where the road varies. It can be 18 feet to 20 feet to 22 feet, back down to 18 feet in the span of 50 foot long, because it does vary. So we can find a way to kind of help indicate that on the plans for sure. As far as the next set of plans that we're under contract to produce, that's something that we have to go through with the town board. It's the next phase of the project is the construction phase, so we have to prepare bid documents. We're not there yet, so I think that's, we can reflect everything that's been commented on
Sure.
when we're authorized to make the next set of plans.
And there's also, with your approval that you're granting, you can have a condition that the planning board be provided with the final
I was just gonna
plans
ask
to
about,
see
so
them.
how can we be approving
Yeah.
if it's not final, but we can say that we need to see those plans back, and then.
I think it would be like before they go out for bid or something like that, you can have a condition in there that allows you to take a look at them again. I don't know if that sounds reasonable for the resolution.
It depends on, it depends on how much we think it's gonna deviate. That's my only concern, because if
We're
it ends
asking for a permanent.
yeah.
Okay.
So, I think the board needs to make a decision whether or not it's comfortable with the level of detail on the plans, or as recommended by your consultant, whether or not there needs to be some additional detail as to the exact location of the widening.
I think we've seen we're comfortable with what we've seen so far, as far as, what they're telling us about the wetland disturbance. Your wetland consultant's been looking at this and hasn't issued any new comments on that. For the 124 square feet of disturbance to an area that's already been disturbed, the culvert, it's going to be redone. Otherwise, the road is within 100 feet of several wetlands and or wetland areas, and your consultant, Steve, has requested that the erosion controls be inspected prior to start of construction, which he can help do. Maybe that's a condition that we make sure is in there, but yeah, so I don't want to speak for Steve, but he didn't issue any new comments for this meeting.
Okay.
So I don't really have anything further.
I had one small question, just looking over the papers. The federal wetlands issue is a little tricky. The CAC brings it up, and Steve said one thing, and I didn't fully understand it, but maybe we can flesh it out here, even though he's not here. They are required, because it's a federal wetland, we're required, the town is required to notify them or file an application with them.
Yeah, we have a joint application ready for DEC and Army Corps of Engineers.
Okay, but then Steve says, because this would be considered a minor disturbance, you wouldn't be required to notify them. I don't know what that means.
He's talking about pre-construction notification. It's a technicality within their permits. We always submit the joint application. They get a chance to review. Some of the permits, the nationwide permits that I think were mentioned a few meetings back, there's 58 or 59 different permits, or it might be up into the 60s now, the last time I looked. Some of them require something called a pre-construction notification, other ones don't. And I think what Steve was referring to is what we would qualify under does not have that pre-construction notification requirement.
So you'd expect to file this application with the federal Army Corps of Engineers, and then they would just send you back something saying it's okay because it's a minor disturbance, it's under this,
Yep,
that's it. Then
Right,
that
it's a
would be
review
it.
process, and they would notify us. I think this is going to be a nationwide 3 or a nationwide 14 for linear projects or maintenance.
Okay. And then there was also sort of a discussion about requiring notice to the DEC, and the CIC had brought up that should be done because, and trying to get a parcel JD, jurisdictional determination.
approval. So the joint application I mentioned goes to both agencies, and it both concerns water resources and wetlands. So if that process is needed to move through as they go through the review, the first step is the joint application that we're going to be submitting.
Okay.
And they've done a delineation, or another consultant has done a delineation for the town already of the area. So if DEC wants to see that, they can. It's valid for 5 years, so I think it's still valid. But Steve's walked out there, and he doesn't believe, in his opinion, that DEC would have jurisdiction on these.
Okay. Yes.
And both DEC and Army Corps received this in the seeker circulation, I believe, correct?
That's right.
Yeah, so they have received materials.
Already.
And it's nationwide permit 14 that Steve mentioned in his memo.
Linear. Yep.
So,
I usually don't try to predict what the Corps
Yeah.
decides because they change it on me when I pick one. They pick a different number.
Okay. Any of the members have any questions, board members? Okay, so then I guess we should reopen the hearing, see if there's anybody that wants to speak.
I have one question. The new topping that's not chip or seal, what color is it?
It's going to be the same. It's going to be a gray, bluish gray color. It's going to be the same thing that you would see on your gravel roads currently.
Right.
I don't know the exact makeup of it. If it's going to be 1/3, 1/3, 1/3, but it's going to be millings, something called stone dust, and another stone material all mixed together.
Right. And the reason this whole project came about is that the road was exposed to a lot of erosion from storms. And I'm just curious if this new topping is good protection against erosion as the oil and seal would be.
So the main thing is to get the water off of the road and keep it off of the road as quick as possible. So by crowning that road and making sure that there's a place for the water to go to the side of the road, that's your best defense first. The second is the material itself, how durable that material is. According to the highway superintendent, what was recently installed, it hardens well enough where the belief is that it's going to have durability in the situations that you're describing.
And what about dust from the road? Is there a lot of dust?
No matter what, on a gravel road, you'll have dust. Especially, I would believe something that has the stone dust in it. It's a dust material, but when it all comes together, it hardens.
Right.
But no matter what, you're going to have some dust. It's a gravel road.
Okay. That's what makes it a country road.
That's what makes it a country or scenic road. Yes.
So can I get a motion to reopen the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there anybody here who would like to speak on this? No. Okay, I think we're ready to close the hearing then. We're good.
You did receive one comment, I believe, by email. Just note that for the record, from a Roger Kirby.
I'm just looking at that now.
Okay. Yeah,
We usually read
did you
them.
receive
Did
that?
we
Yeah,
address
it
that?
actually really specified more on traffic control measures than I
Oh,
believe
yeah.
it
It
is
was
before this
sent to
board.
Joe.
It was
and
to
we
the highway
copied
super-
on it.
Yeah.
Don't we usually read them at the public hearing?
I've never done
I don't recall. But I thought when there was that solar panel issue, I thought we read a bunch of the letters.
I have one question.
Yeah.
In the record, as long as
It's in the record,
then we don't need to read it.
What's the reasonable expectation for the viability of this? How long can we expect this to,
One of the things we noted in our study that we did over the 2-year period, all non-paved gravel roads have a life expectancy of 15 to 20 years until you need to do major maintenance. You can make it last a little bit longer if you continuously do regular maintenance very well through its life, but the process that we're going through, rehabilitation, that really should be done to all gravel roads 15 to 20 years into their life.
And what constitutes major maintenance?
Major maintenance is kind
The
of
process
just,
that you described.
routine maintenance is what the town does do, where they bring the grade the motor grader out and they reshape it and they try to bring all the gravel that does migrate off and get the crown back and then other repairs as necessary. But that is the lifespan of a gravel road. So not all municipalities by any means can redo all of their roads at that frequency.
Right.
But when you ask about the durability, I would believe that the next time the town should even consider a rehabilitation of this road would be 15 to 20 years down the road.
okay, so if there's some problems with this road in 5 years, and I'm not sure what those might be, who sort of is responsible for that? Who do we call?
Well, it depends on what the issues are. If there's something that occurs for various reasons something gets developed on the road and it creates a acute issue at a location, you take a look at what created that. The town would likely, if it's a major issue, the town forces would likely have to do a repair immediately if it was an emergency situation, or if it's something that's not that bad, but it is something that's wearing down on the road, and there is an outside source to it, water that all of a sudden is heading to that road that shouldn't have been. Those are, things that the highway superintendent will probably be notified of first and then have to go through a process to figure out how to remediate it.
The bottom line is that we're not choosing what kind of road, that's not our job. Like, our job is, that's the town's job. The town has already done all this work. Like, they've already decided what they want, what the durability of it is, what the longevity of it is, how they're gonna maintain it, what if something goes wrong, who's responsible. They've already done all that. That's not our job.
I'm still interested in the question, though. I don't want to waste too much of our
No,
time.
but we could go way off track on lots of things that come to us, what-ifing things, and we
I think
just,
we're spending more time debating this than we let me answer the question.
I just think we need to stay on task of what our job is as the planning board.
Joe, do you know the answer?
Pardon me? To what?
Who sort of owns the responsibility if
The town will take
The town
responsibility to
takes
fix it. The highway
responsibility,
superintendent
and
will.
we'll be the,
Okay.
sorry, Doug.
We're not
We'll be the ones
here to
to
debate whether to
decide
finish the
the route to go as far as what kind of, whether it we blame the contractor or whether we blame God Almighty. I mean, that's what we're here for now.
And having lived on that dirt road for a long time, the town has always tried to maintain it. Joe has his guys out there working on that road
We've spent
regularly.
Hundreds of thousands
Yeah,
of dollars.
right.
Yeah.
My question was who in the process of doing this work owns any of the responsibility or liability
we
for that?
answered that.
If you're comfortable with that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so with that, can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Okay, great. So we are waiting, we've closed the public hearing. We are now, it's back in the town board's hands to close seeker.
Correct.
And then they'll come back to us next month, and hopefully we can have a resolution on this.
So I was not aware that SECRA was a problem with having the planning board move ahead with deciding, whether approve or disapprove. We have to go through the SECRA process, and we are going through it. But I was not aware that that was like a brick wall for the planning board.
Yeah, we had a few conversations where Mr. Barnett was on the call, and we
Yeah.
were checking in on that. And my understanding is you're going to be doing that next week?
Yeah.
You mean a week from Thursday?
Yep.
Yeah. So my next question to this board, because I'm not your regular attorney, I don't know what your custom and practice is. Do you authorize the preparation of a resolution, or can your consultants just start drafting it and have it drafted?
I think we've done it both ways
Okay.
before.
If you're asking whether we have to have a meeting to authorize the drafting of
Or whether or not you
We could-
formally, some boards like to formally authorize their consultants to draft the resolution
We have
versus
done
some
that
just say, hey, go
before,
ahead and
but-
get a draft started.
No, I think we can say go ahead and get
Okay.
it started on this one. Yeah.
I'm comfortable with that, absolutely.
So when we come back in September, there is no delay after September. As long as the resolution is, there's a draft resolution, and we can move ahead with yay or nay.
As long as
I
you
don't
do what you need to
foresee-
do on the
Exactly.
14th, and,
That's what we
yeah.
are planning to do.
And then, yes, because we can have a draft to the board, and then if there's any tweaks as the board reviews it, we can take care of that right here at the meeting. But I
Okay.
think between myself and Aaron, we'll get a decent shell ready to go for.
Yep,
Okay.
and we're already working on a draft seeker for the town board
Okay.
at the request of Kyle, so. And we have an updated Part 1 EAF with all the information that is current on the project from Colliers, so.
Okay.
We'll put together the Part 2 and we'll have a neg deck resolution document prepared.
So is the planning board, they're, like, moving forward, Dan and his presentations, are you good with that? I mean, we're done with Dan, right? Is that?
I get what he means, but
Stop killing you.
Pay him to get back in. Yeah.
I think I would feel comfortable going forward without Dan appearing.
Yeah.
I don't want to
Yes.
speak for the entire board, but I think that we have seen his presentation, we have
You've
the
asked
documents.
questions, you-
We've,
Yep.
yes.
So he
I-
didn't have any further comments to the, right?
No,
He was
nothing.
given the opportunity to comment, and he didn't have any
And he
comments.
didn't. Steve, you're talking about?
Yeah, I think
Steve.
Steve was
Steve
given
Steve
the opportunity
doesn't
to
have
comment,
anything
but
additional.
add
And he did
additional
not.
comments today.
No.
And I don't think he didn't have any.
Not that I know.
No, he didn't. So,
I think the only reason we had so many questions last time is because there were so many options presented to us for finishing the road.
Yeah, I think
Now
that
today you come
complicated
with your option that you've selected, and that's what
It's much
we're up
cleaner
to
now.
evaluate. So
yeah.
it's pretty straightforward.
Okay, so we're all set.
All right?
Thank
all
you.
right, thank you very much. Have a good
Thank you,
evening.
thank you very much.
Okay, the next matter we have on is for 20 Short Road. It's a public hearing for Casertano. Hi. Yes, please. So this is seeking a site plan approval to expand a pre-existing non-conforming house on a 1.2-acre lot located at 20 Short Road. You've received 3 variances from the ZBA, and they're conditioned on our granting site plan approval. We classified it at our last month as a type 2 for seeker, and we referred it to the county because of its location, and the county has responded that it's a matter of local concern. So, I'm wondering if you need to summarize this application again, but yes, maybe you should summarize it a little bit
Sure.
in case there's anybody here to speak.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. My name is Anthony Frisenda. I'm an architect representing Alex and Renee Casertano. Renee is seated next to me. They have an existing single-family home located at 20 Short Road. It's approximately 1,000 square feet. A cellar, 2 stories, and they would like to build an addition off of the rear of the house of approximately 1,900 square feet, which includes a basement and also covered porches. In terms of, site plan, there's very minimal disturbance other than the foundation of the addition itself. The septic system will remain in place, the well will remain in place. It is going from it is a 3-bedroom, remaining a 3-bedroom. No trees being removed, just the excavation for the addition. And yeah, I think that pretty much covers it. It's pretty straightforward, but if there's any questions on the summary that I just proposed, happy to take.
Any other comments or questions?
No, all of our previous comments have been addressed. As you mentioned, it went through the ZBA, they got everything they needed from the ZBA, and it required site plan approval from this board. So the site plan's been revised to include everything we've asked for, including the signature block and area of disturbance, location of well, septic, it's all in there. So, and the county did reply on the referral that there's no comment. So you have a public hearing to hold, and then if that can be closed, you can consider a resolution of approval.
Great. Okay. So, can I get a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Seconded?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Is there anybody here that would like to speak on this application? No. Okay. Can I get a motion to close the public hearing? Adam? Second?
Second.
Eric? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So we circulated a resolution that Hannah had drafted. Has everybody had a chance to review that resolution? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So this resolution is conditioned only on our approval, conditions our approval on the payment of fees and compliance with all municipal regulations, and that's it. Can I get a motion to adopt resolution of approval?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded. Eric? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. You're all set.
Thank you so
Great,
much.
thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, we had another item, 2444 Salt Point Turnpike, and that has been postponed until next month. It may be on next month. The next item is Weston Hotel Partners for 5466 Ramble Hill Lane, if you could come up. Thank you. And if you could tell us your names.
Yeah, absolutely. My name is Malin Rena. And this is Matthew Rena.
Yep, I'm Matt Reno,
And Matt. Can you spell your last name?
R-E-I-N-A.
Great. Thanks. So you're here with a pre-application, so you have questions about potentially doing something.
Yes.
So why don't you tell us what it is you'd like to do, and then we'll see what questions we can answer.
Yeah, wonderful. Just where we come from, we currently run and operate a boutique hotel in Vermont, in Western Vermont, for a well-known hotelier family that's been doing this for generations. And then we were lucky enough to come across this beautiful historic building on 5466 Ramble Hill Lane, and we are very excited of the opportunity to potentially be able to do something like we're currently doing there. We just we're looking for some guidance, some feedback to whether, because I know there's been other applicants, and I know there is now a hospitality overlay, so maybe it's more possible, but we're looking for more information on how to get this started and what may be required of us.
Well, when you're looking at, there's multiple buildings there.
Mhm.
But when you're looking at the building, are you planning on reusing those buildings, or because our law, there's a section of our hospitality law about adaptive reuse of certain buildings and how many rooms you can have. What is your plan on that?
Yeah.
That's the starting point, I think.
Of course, we're looking to restore and renovate, and we are currently running a boutique hotel of 9 rooms. I believe we've been
9
told.
rooms?
We're currently, yes. And I think under 35 is what we've heard. So we're not looking to do anything bigger than that, probably smaller.
So you'd be focused on the older portion of that complex and not the newer wing?
Actually, both. We were right now. What we've been talking about is rooms, most so in the main building, and then a spa facility in the.
So some use
more
of that
newer-
new
Yes.
section?
Yes. Yeah.
But not.
Is that, sorry.
Yeah.
Is that main building even usable at this point? I've been in there.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad, right?
Yeah.
It's been institutionalized, and so is the idea to keep the exterior structure or knock it down completely, rebuild something similar? Because, I mean, what I saw, I thought, you know, with a lot of concerns about asbestos and mold, it's...
We were in there together.
Yes, yeah, that's right, we were in there together. I'm just curious how you're going to approach that part of it. I know the other building's in good shape.
Yep.
The one for the spa, which makes sense to
Yep.
me. How are you approaching the building in that condition?
Yeah, absolutely. The exterior we would like to keep as and keep as much as possible, and that's similar to what we did with our current project, because we love historic buildings, and the more we can restore,
Where
the
is your
better.
current project? Where is it?
In Weston, Vermont. Yeah, we took an old inn where it was basically snowing inside, and restored as
Are we
much
planning on
possible.
having an event space, like for weddings and
Possibly.
parties
Yeah.
as well?
Yeah.
Restaurant?
Yeah, restaurant, yep,
Yes.
a spa and a restaurant for sure, and then hopefully a place to be able to have weddings at a reasonable time. And
Have you engaged a site planner?
currently we have engaged a architect
Yes.
that has currently or previously been involved.
So, because you need adequate parking and
Yep.
egress and in and out of the site. In some of the public hearings that have taken place for the town board previously, a lot of residents around Horseshoe Road were concerned about.
College Lane. Yeah, College Lane is the one that it...
We're concerned about the traffic that may come through that road because there are young children on the road. And so I was wondering if you may consider access to the site off Route 44, if that's possible.
It's
Yeah.
required, actually.
It's required.
The code says that main entrances for staff, guests, and visitors for any use within the hospitality overlay shall be from New York State Route 44, 82, or 343. An alternative entrance on a secondary road such as, but not limited to, College Lane may be approved by the planning board in its discretion for use by delivery vehicles and emergency access.
So I believe that issue is one of the primary
Okay.
concerns of the community,
Okay.
is traffic on College
And
Road.
not just any traffic, but like large delivery trucks
Yes.
going down these small neighborhood roads.
So while the
That's a real
code
concern.
leaves that as an opening, it was a spark for the community to get involved in the last time.
Okay.
For
So
for South Road as well, right? So you come onto South Road,
Mhm.
and then you have to go to College Lane, and you know it's residential, and it's really not meant for heavy truck traffic, especially not College Lane. And
I don't even think it has a center line.
it does not have
No,
a
it
center
just
line.
don't, definitely
It's just
doesn't.
not a place that you would want delivery trucks.
And
Might be
College
more-
Lane is a very
Windy, yeah.
Might be more appropriate
Kids.
just to use it for emergency purposes only, but the fire department's gonna have to weigh in on this
Yes.
application if they submit
That's a
one
good
anyway,
point,
Yeah, I
so.
think that's an important thing to.
Isn't the
Okay.
access more from 82? Why
Yeah,
would things
main
go back
access,
there?
yes.
Yeah.
But it was it was brought up the
Right.
last time there was a potential.
And that's not an
application.
easy access,
So
right?
the
It's like
building,
a-
the town law, hospitality law, says that the maximum number of rooms, if it's not adaptive reuse, is 20.
20?
20,
No, it's a-
maximum number of rooms.
So that would be if you weren't using the old building.
And I'm not
or
sure
one of
what the formula is for
Okay.
adaptive reuse to get you to 35. I don't know
Yeah.
how you come up with that number.
I
And I
think-
don't know what credits.
I think a
account
key
for
thing to do would be to have the attorney on your end.
Yep.
Read that section of the law and
Mhm.
fully understand what
Mhm.
what you're able to do. Because it's really, we had a previous application for a different
Yeah,
spot
I was
where
gonna bring that up.
they came in with an application that just didn't conform to the law. And they
Okay.
wasted, I think, a lot of time and money on their end, and we hate to see that. So,
Yeah.
it makes more sense to understand what the what your rights are or what the possibilities are.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And then make your application.
Okay.
And I expect there might be a fair amount of interest in that. I think this will be the first hospitality project that will go forward under this new overlay, and since the community survey has been conducted and we have the...
Didn't we have one previously?
We had the
It kind of
Cottonwood, but it
we
fell
really
apart.
heard from them and...
They came in for a pre-application like this,
Yeah.
but then it kind of went away.
If you went
because
forward
they,
with this, it would be the first.
Previous applicant for this spot
Yeah.
as well, that was talking about it, withdrew their application or their concept based on public concerns.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else than the traffic?
No,
Was
it
that
was
the-
mostly
I think it was
the
mostly
traffic
concerned about
Okay.
issues.
You can, that's all available publicly on the
Yeah.
website, so you can
Whatever.
search for Ramble Hill and take a look, and you can see what the comments were.
Yep.
And what issues were raised and what
There were also
happened.
public concerns about water
Paul
access.
brings up
Mhm.
the concept that there were concerns with water.
And I think the other concern was light pollution and sound pollution from events. That would, there'd be big lights and noise late into a Saturday night or something when there's
All of
a
which
neighborhood
I-
that sits right behind.
All of which I think could be managed. It's not
These
as
are all-
if, these are
yeah.
issues, but I think they're things that could be managed with the appropriate lights, with activities only happening during certain hours, all of that stuff. We're not trying to say, nothing can happen here. But just be aware that there is a community behind there. And
Sure.
they're going to have some concerns.
And that community also had a really negative experience with the institution that was there, which is obviously a completely different animal.
Yeah.
But I think you still have to consider that, the people you may be, you need them to be on side are going to have had a negative experience.
Yeah.
And I think
And in your plans, you mentioned perhaps a restaurant or spa. Are those going to be open to the general public, or are those only for guests?
General public
how
for
are you
both
approaching that?
both restaurant and spa. Yes.
For both?
Yeah. Yes. Currently, what we're doing is breakfast only to hotel guests, but then our service is open to the public.
community might
Yeah. Is there anything?
I have some stuff to talk about.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I'm Aaron Werner. I'm with AKRF. We're consultants to the planning board. So
Yep.
when you apply, you pay an escrow that goes into our review fees, and we help the board make decisions. We don't make decisions, but we advise the board.
Yeah.
And particularly on environmental review aspects, which is going to need the zoning code, we're making sure that you're complying, things like that. So the first thing I would just make sure that you take a look at, like Susan was saying, 165-22 of the zoning code is online now. Luckily, the town has the E-code up, so you can look at the specific section of the code called hospitality overlay, which is 165-22. There's also the natural resource inventory maps up on the website too, in the same area of the code, which was recently done by the town. There's like 19 maps that talk about various environmental issues like water and aquifer zones and forests and all things that are important to the environmental review of this. So I would take a look at that, all those maps, how the site lines up in each one of those maps, what are the issues that come out of those maps. Maybe be prepared to have a report on that. I guess let me back up. Do you have a planner or an engineer lined up for this?
With our architect, who's actually was
local?
working with a previous applicant, so they did a lot of this already that we are planning on
Okay.
accessing.
So I would recommend that
Yeah.
you go with use an engineer or a planner
Yeah.
that's familiar with the New York State SECRA process, State Environmental Quality Review,
Okay.
because this is going to require filling out an environmental assessment form and doing a bunch of technical studies that the board's going to need to see to make a decision.
And can I just ask, when you say make a decision, is that make a decision on the application, the first?
Yeah,
or-
so this project will require site plan and special use permit
Yeah.
from this board.
Yeah.
As part of those actions, there's this, what's called the environmental review requirements under State Environmental Quality Review Act. They have to go through an environmental review of the project in order to act on those requests for a special use permit and a site plan.
Okay.
They have to either come up with a negative declaration of environmental significance, whereas there's no impacts, we looked at everything, the project is doing certain things to address environmental impacts, or they could issue a positive declaration, which would require that you do an environmental impact statement, which is, basically packaging all the studies that we might ask for in a formal process that requires public scoping of issues, public hearings, a lot longer of a process. That's up to them to make the decision on, but there's an environmental review that has to happen here. So my recommendation is you use a consultant that's familiar with New York State, because I know you're from Vermont, but
Yep.
familiar with the New York State forms and laws and environmental traffic study stuff, especially. That would go a long way.
Okay.
So,
Is your architect a New York State architect? Local architect?
Yep.
okay.
Then you'll know what an
Usually the
engineer-
architects
Yep.
have teams they like to use for this stuff. So as long as it's one that's familiar with Dutchess County or, you know,
Yep.
and, yeah,
What-
that help.
What are you thinking in terms of, entrance to the property? Because that road into Ramble Hill is more like a steep driveway.
It's
It's
also
not.
a shared driveway.
Yeah, there's a property that has an easement on it.
Yeah.
But, that's a really tiny little road. What were you thinking about in terms of accessing the property, if you've gotten that far?
Yeah, correct me if I'm wrong, but the information we have received so far is that we can do something to make the road better, and that's what we would want to do with the renovation and everything else that will go into it, because we were driving on that road and it was a little bit gnarly.
Yeah, it's a
Yes.
little gnarly.
So
If the road comes out on Route 44, then the state highway department will be taking a look at your entrance and exit along that road.
Yeah, okay.
And there are some criteria
Yeah.
for a driveway entrance to a commercial space
yeah,
that I'm sure that your engineers will be able to
Right.
comply with.
yeah, okay.
That's a good segue into traffic study. I think this would require a full traffic study.
Okay.
As part of the environmental review process. Our firm can certainly talk to your engineer or the consultant that's going to be doing it to help figure out the scope of it and
Okay.
what intersections we want to make sure get studied and what, what trip generation rates to use and stuff like that. We're definitely able to help with that.
Okay.
But I think it needs to look at operation as a hotel, operation for events, and as if it's going to have a public restaurant. There's going to be trips associated with that too that are different from the guests lodging, different from a big event. So all the different scenarios have to be studied.
Yep.
Peak hours, that are required by traffic studies that the DOT requires. And no data collection should happen until September at the earliest, because when school's in session is the best time to take baseline data for traffic counts around the study area that we define.
Okay.
Don't do it during the summer because it's not typical conditions.
Okay.
And those numbers, like for parking, for how many people might be expected to need egress out of there, would all be based on the capacity for the facility. And so do you have an idea, just based on the event center place? I know we talked about hotel rooms, but how many people could go to the restaurant? How many people could be at, if I was going to have a wedding there, how many people would you expect to accommodate? Is this 100? Is this 300? Is this 500? Because that will affect how many, the traffic study and
Right.
all this other stuff that will have to be considered. So you should probably, before you go further, make an estimate on those numbers, because that will drive all these
So
other
there's
things.
one space required from the code anyway, on the hospitality section. There's one space for every guest room. And then the accessory uses are governed by Appendix C of the code, off-street parking. And if there's anything that's not listed, it might be under the discretion of the planning board to come up with a reasonable rate. But I would start with that for sure.
Okay.
You definitely need one space per unit or room.
Yes.
But if your event space is to hold a wedding for up to 200 people,
Yeah.
I don't know what your number is.
Yeah,
Not our
definitely,
style.
definitely lower.
Yeah.
We're smaller.
But you'll want to come with those numbers
Yeah.
based on what you
Yeah.
speak with your
It's
architect.
because this
Okay.
is a special use permit process.
Mm.
There could also be, limits on, as part of a permit, if it's issued by the board, limits on the maximum number of guests that you can have for an event.
Yep.
That's within their jurisdiction to do.
Yep.
Your architect engineer will guide you through this process.
Yeah.
They'll ask you
For sure.
those questions,
Mhm.
and you'll be able to come up with a plan
Yeah.
that meets, and a business plan at the same time.
Yeah,
And if you
right.
have an attorney,
Yep.
it would help to have an attorney on the team as well.
Yeah, that is our next step in mind.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I have a few other environmental
Yeah.
stuff. Well, first, I guess, I did make a list of like at least, at a minimum, the plans that you should be thinking about submitting when you do. Definitely a survey, property survey that's recent, site plan set that has architectural plans in it, lighting plans, utility plans, landscaping, how you're going to address stormwater, erosion controls during construction. We do recommend that for the environmental review that you do the full environmental assessment form, not the short form, the full form. So keep that in mind. Even if this isn't a type 1 action, I think it's still a good course of review to do it the full form. Your consultant should consult the New York State DEC's environmental EAF mapper, it's called. If you Google that, it just brings you to a place that you can generate the form. It gives you a blank form with certain things already filled out that are based on the state's database. It's a good starting point, so make sure they run that. I talked about the NRI maps. So the site looks like it has wetlands or some kind of water courses or something flagged by the DEC. So at this stage, it's early, it might be a good idea to do that parcel JD thing with the state to get them to tell you if it has jurisdictional wetlands on it or not. So that's a process that if you Google DEC parcel jurisdictional determination, it's called, you can submit that. It takes like 5 minutes. You just put in your tax lot and then it goes into DEC's system, and they have a 90-day turnaround time. Unfortunately, it's not the greatest, but they're supposed to respond to you within that time frame with a letter letting you know if you have wetlands that are under their jurisdiction on your site.
Are there wetlands on that parcel? I can't remember.
The EAF mapper says that there are, and the town's map has like, I think, a probable spot there, and there's I think it looks like a water course too. I didn't take a hard enough look.
This is a new law, the one that he's referring to right now, and it's taking the DEC a very long time to get back to
It
people
is.
at. Anyway, so it's just one of those things, if you know you're going to be filing applications, one of the things to do earlier rather than later.
And your consultants will probably know this. As of this past January 1st, the DEC has changed their wetlands regulations, and this parcel JD thing is new, and it's meant to kind of, get their attention on something and tell you for sure or not that you have the wetlands that they're interested in, and then the next step would be to delineate those and give them more information about them. So at this stage, since it's early, I think it might be a good idea to start that process.
Okay.
Talked about traffic. Noise is another thing that we should definitely want to see some information about. A lot of consulting firms can do noise studies that are based on outdoor events, based on where they're going to be on the site. There's modeling that can be done. I think that would be important here if you're going to have large events that might be outside.
Yeah.
So please consider that.
Okay.
Visual impacts, I think this is not too visible from the publicly accessible roads. There might be some concerns from neighbors about what they can see. It's usually not a secret thing, but if you're considering screening, it's important, keeping large tracts of trees that might be providing screening intact. Things like that. I think architectural renderings will be good to have for the board to see visually what this is going to look like when it's done. And then historic resources. So looking up this site, I did a little bit of research before the meeting. There's nothing in the New York State Historic Preservation Office website about this site being historic, but I think you should consult with them to make sure. And that can be done through what's called the Cultural Resource Information System, CRIS. And again, if you have a good consultant, architect, engineer, attorney, they know about this stuff. So I would recommend initiating a consultation with them about if there's any historic significance to this building, to the site, before you get too far along planning to alter it.
Yeah.
They might have some concerns about that.
Okay.
And we're pre-purchase.
That site originally
Yeah,
was
right?
Thorndale, one part of Thorndale, had a big mansion on it that was removed.
Okay.
And it has a lot of cultural significance in this town.
Yeah.
So
they're going to want to see photos, existing conditions of everything that's there as part of that consultation, and they'll make a determination. If it's been significantly altered over several decades, maybe they won't think it's historic, but If it hasn't been, they
Doesn't feel
might
historic.
flag it as something.
It's totally institutionalized
Okay.
inside from the.
Still, it's just
Yeah.
really good due diligence
Yeah.
step to do.
Actually, the mansion was called Thorncrest. And
What did you say?
When you just Google that, or you'll see a picture of that mansion.
I think I have a picture and an article about it.
Okay.
I can send it to you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So that was the extent of my notes. So while you were previously writing down stuff.
Just a
but-
few comments.
Easy.
Yeah, right.
So we don't have an application, so I don't have a memo that I can give you formally. There wasn't enough escrow to make,
Yeah,
like, once you submit, that's the other thing. If this does become an application that's real,
right.
I think the pretty large escrow is gonna be needed here, like significantly, going along with the town code's probably requirements for the cost of the project, because you're gonna have AKRF, you're gonna have me, plus I have a bunch of technical folks that would look at things like traffic and noise and water and sewer. Yeah, I have engineers that work with me that can help. And so a lot of cooks will be looking at this, and
It's a large project.
yeah,
large
so a
project.
large escrow to fund our
Yeah.
work and the attorney. And,
Okay.
yeah.
And there's no step in between everything that you went through and now, basically, that we should consider
Yeah,
as
this
the
is a
next step.
pre-application meeting, so it's,
Yeah.
you didn't show us any site plans or anything, so we don't have much to go on, but
Yeah.
these are the things that I know we care about
This is the next step.
when we do this work
Yeah.
for folks like you, and
Yeah.
now that since we're consulting the town, we want to make sure that they see this.
Right.
And when you come back to us and you'd have a real application, it, really what Aaron is saying is it really helps the more complete your application is.
Okay.
The more of this information you've collected and you've already done, the faster the process could go. Because if you come to us and then we have to say, well, you need to do this, 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 this,
Right.
and this could take a very long time.
Yeah.
It'll also be more cost efficient for you. We have had people who've workshopped 10 workshops with us
Yeah.
before they actually put in an application. Then they had to go through the whole application thing. That's a lot of a cost. And so it's just in your best interest to save money,
Yeah.
to be as complete as you can and to
As
get
thorough.
Yeah.
get everything together that you can
Yeah.
before you
Yeah,
come to us.
being-
Because every time you come, it's
Mindful
it's
that this
also
is the
another month.
first of,
Yes.
this
Right.
is
Yeah.
one of 3
Right.
sites that was zoned this way
Yeah.
by the town board. Full disclosure, our firm wasn't involved really in much of that stuff with the town board. They used another firm, but, I have looked at the zoning, I understand what it asks for, and, this is the first one, and it did have a lot of public attention, so it's just
Yeah.
really important that you be thorough about this.
So you are familiar down, just across the road and down a little bit further is the Cottonwood. You familiar with that?
Yeah, we looked at that, but they
Yeah.
were closed, if I remember right. Are they still operational?
No,
No,
Cottonwood
they're
is
not.
not
No,
operational.
okay,
It's
yeah.
an abandoned building.
Yeah.
But there were some people who were thinking about doing a hotel there,
Mm-hmm.
and they came before us with a site plan,
Okay.
and it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Problem was is that the
Didn't
town law
comply.
only allows for 20 rooms
Right.
per application, and they wanted 28 rooms on one of the lots. They had 2 lots,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And so they didn't qualify because there was no adaptive reuse. They were going to demolish the buildings,
Mm.
all right, and put new ones up.
Okay.
And it was a beautiful plan.
Yeah.
It really was.
Yeah.
But it didn't fit the town law.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
So that could happen.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So,
Good to know.
you haven't purchased the property, or the people that you work for haven't purchased the property. So
No,
I guess
still in-
you're coming here today, and we've said a lot, but what exactly are you kind of looking for from us today? If we haven't given it to you
Yeah.
specifically, because
No,
you're obviously early stages.
Yep.
And there's so much to do.
Yep.
To even figure out whether it's a viable project.
Yeah.
So what else would you like to know?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, everything we got is so helpful, but just in case there was something that we don't know, that that there is, well, this is not gonna work because, or there's a law that's not allowing this type of hotel, restaurant, and spa. So anything
You
that,
have a copy of the overlay or the.
Yeah, it's all in the
I mean,
code.
it's all
It's
there.
all
Yeah.
in the code.
yeah,
That-
so
I
that
would
is all, yeah.
There's nothing kind of behind the scenes, or there's nothing
it's
out.
pretty
Right.
Yeah, but
That's-
we're just have this code that we have to apply.
Yeah.
Whatever application you
Yep.
bring us, we look at that code
Yeah.
and we see if it fits within it.
There's
Okay.
3 main sections to focus on. Obviously, look through all of it, but and again, having a good attorney, a land use attorney to help
Yeah.
with the application process will go a long way. But
Yeah.
the hospitality overlay section, I started it for you already. Then there's the site plan and special use permit regulations as well. 'Cause this is gonna require both of those approvals.
Right.
And there's a long list of things that are required to be on a site plan and
Yep.
how the standards have to be met for the board to issue a special permit.
Yeah,
Those are all important to look at.
Yeah.
Because if you're not meeting those, then
yeah.
you're
No,
wasting-
absolutely. And then
Yeah.
we were curious about if you knew anything about the neighbors too, and if there's special concerns that we should.
And that's what
take
we
in.
raised at the beginning, which
Yeah.
was this use of that back
That back,
driveway
yeah.
really
I think-
made the neighbors
I
very
think your
upset.
plan should not have deliveries coming in through the backside of South Road through the college. I just don't think that you will get a lot of pushback on
Okay.
that. The deliveries will have to come off of 44, whether you build a second driveway that, that your guests don't use.
Yeah.
If
or
that's possible,
If it's
I don't know if
possible,
that's
or
possible.
if it's a shared driveway where your guests and customers come and go, as well as your deliveries come and go on that
Or you
same.
can restrict the deliveries to overnight, or so that,
Right.
But I think your plan should not include that. I think that was a lot
Okay.
of, that
It
created a
was.
lot of problems for
Yeah.
the last applicant. And that was before this new overlay was in place, but still, that's probably the biggest concern, is reducing the effect on the people that live behind there.
I would be prepared for a great deal of public feedback,
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
positive and negative.
No,
Yeah.
I would really suggest that you look at the other projects
Yeah.
on the website and,
Yeah.
get a sense,
Mhm.
of how people responded.
Mm.
You'll see what they wrote in and what they said.
Yeah.
The good thing about it is that the community has just recently come together and said that that is an area that they would be, they would accept
Mhm.
hospitality. So in the past, it's been like, oh, we don't sure if the community wants it or not. And they have said, we want it,
Mhm.
but only in certain areas. And this is one area they said that they would be okay with it. So that's
Mhm.
really favorable for moving forward on that property.
Yeah.
So if you look at the zoning map, a lot of this town is 10-acre zoning.
Mm.
Then there's a portion of it that's 5-acre zoning. But where you're locating this project, it's I believe it's a half-acre zoning. It's
I don't
1-acre
I
zoning.
think it's one
RM2.
1 or 2 acres.
1 or 2 acre zoning,
Yeah.
right? So the density is very high, and so the people that live there are concerned, that live along those roads, about the additional traffic.
Mm.
It's more of a small neighborhood
Yeah.
rather than being agricultural or farmland.
Right. Absolutely.
And I think the other thing to keep in mind is this is an overlay. Hospitality is an overlay. So the underlying zoning here, which I think is RM2, I believe, the regulations for that still apply too, as far as like setbacks and things like that, and that you need to consider. So, and I think the code is pretty clear about that, that it's the underlying zoning regulations apply unless stated otherwise by the overlay. So you need to make sure you look at both.
Okay. Fantastic. Anything
That's all I had.
okay?
Anything
Nothing more,
else?
no.
No, I think, yeah, that's very helpful. We wanted to get started and thought this would be very helpful for us, so thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Good luck.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it.
Susan, I know this is not a public hearing.
It is not.
If you prefer, I'll just talk to them outside.
I'm not sure what you mean. You
I've got
have a
couple of
comment
points
on,
a couple of points that you all might be interested in. It's up
okay,
to
if you can be brief.
Yeah, very brief. Just relative to prior applications.
Why don't you tell people who you are, because not everyone here
My name is Dr. Paul
knows.
Schwartz. I'm the former chair of the planning board, and there were a couple of applications for that parcel. So I'm just giving you the advantage of what happened during those interactions so that you can look at them.
Yep.
The biggest issues there are water access and availability of water. And then the second associated issue is septic. So you should probably look at the Department of Health complaints over the last 30 years for that site, because that's going to really be a limiting factor as far as use of the property. Another issue was slopes. So there's a lot of steep slopes there. And then the last issue comment was just a modification of a comment that was made. With your utility being hospitality, it'd probably be a good idea to look also at the summer utility, because you're talking about a lot of summer traffic on top of what is our summer traffic. Not to say that school is that, I'm just saying both would probably be a good idea. That's it.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Paul.
May I say something?
Um,
I'm Brian McGrath, I represent the seller. The thing is, the buildings are already there, the wetlands are not gonna matter, the road has been approved. you can cut off the back as for emergency use of the rear entranceway. We have a sewage treatment plant that has a new speedies permit. And we have 3 wells that are, so I'm having a difficult time understanding this.
This is
Well,
our code.
seeker,
We are-
yeah, I mean, and
we
the
will go through a
environmental review
process.
process is going to require a look at water and sewer, for sure. It was on my list and I overlooked it, actually. Thank you for bringing it up. What's there now, what the demand's going to be from this use? Because right now, it's obviously, it was not used as a hotel before. So what is the demand, and is there enough in those utility systems there to support that? And also the aquifer, that is underneath the site, which is all part of the NRI maps, which you should take a look at. There's a groundwater resources map that has a lot of information on it.
Yeah,
as
so
well.
it'd be good to look at, when it was a functioning institution or a congruent place, how many people were there, and, was
There
the
was
current
48 people there,
water
plus-
source, was it adequate?
plus about 20
Because they're probably
staff.
doing a lot of the same things, laundry, cooking, like a lot of the same stuff for that number of people, so it's just good to know.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so these things have to be looked at. Environmental review, special use permit, it's all going to fall on this board to take a hard look at all those things, so it's.
And
good
there's
to
really
bring
just no way around the environmental review. Like,
Yeah.
Mr. McGrath is pointing out what's there, and that all that could be great,
That's
and
good
we
info.
have certain steps that we have to follow in order to give it a seeker approval, and that's just how it is.
And once you get further down the road with your architect or planner, you might have a better idea of what actually is usable, because you could take it from 20 rooms to 33 rooms if you are able to do the adaptive reuse of the existing structure. So if you can use a lot more of the existing structure, that's more in your favor for your business plan to have more rooms. But you'll have to go in through and look, because I don't know how much you'll be able to reuse the older part of it, sounds like.
Yeah, I would, get a good local land use lawyer, engineer, planner, and have them,
Right.
help you figure out what your possible scope is.
Yep. Absolutely.
Thanks so much for.
Thank you.
Great.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Do you have a name for your project?
No, not yet. Any feedback is welcome.
It just says a Weston on here because that's where the town,
Yeah.
Weston, Vermont.
Yeah, it's the town and it's our hotel.
Looks like it's a beautiful little place.
Yeah, it is.
Really wonderful.
Prior to the
Very
overall.
lucky to work.
Nice to meet you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
His site's just a minute.
Okay. We can take a moment and talk about Howard's letter about concern that everyone has seen. Howard has some concerns about a subdivision that exists right near his home, and that they started construction on one of the lots. And the building inspector has told us that those are all pre-approved lots, and right now, there's only one of those lots that has a permit to build a house, and that is what's happening on that. There is some tree cutting happening apparently, but there's no law against that. And when each of the other lots should come before him for a permit to build a house on those lots, he will look at that, and if it needs ZBA approval or our approval for each of those lots, then they would come before us. If not, if there's nothing that triggers that, each of those would simply get a normal building permit.
Howard's letter brought up the fact that there are flag lots that would
They were-
require ZBA approval.
They were created in 1988 originally
Yes.
from a subdivision map that's on file.
Didn't we just,
Isn't that
didn't
the
we just
same
look at this
project
project?
that we
We
reviewed?
did, there was an application in front of this board for like minor lot line changes
Yes.
for that, for some of these lots that.
The crazy colored
Multiple
map.
minor,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a great color.
It was great.
So I guess that he
Just
sold
markers.
these since then, which I think he made clear he was wanting to sell them.
Yes.
But we didn't know details.
We
But
didn't-
still, it was a minor, it was treated as a lot line adjustment to an existing
We
subdivision
didn't
from.
create any new parcels.
No,
We
we
No.
did not.
We just did minor.
We did tweaking to
Minor
the
lot line
driveway.
adjustments, multiple ones, but we
Yeah.
didn't create any new
Yeah.
parcels or create any flag lots or create, those have always been the way they are, but.
No, we
So
made them
are
more
all the lots
conforming,
buildable
actually.
Now, approved to be buildable?
Excuse me?
Are all the lots able to be built upon without for the ZBA.
Well,
the
that's
building
not
inspector's role.
100% clear yet. When each of them, when they come to him on the next lot that they'd like to build on, he will decide at that point, are there issues here that trigger a review by the ZBA or a review by us? But so far, that has not happened.
All those were about access to the properties, was moving of the
The
driveways.
moving of the driveways was
Yeah.
just improving the access the way that they wanted it.
Yeah.
But so far, there's nothing to bring it before
The
us.
time that
and-
would have been, things would have been looked at in a hard way, like environmental issues and things like that, was when these lots were originally created in 1988, according to the Dutchess parcel access map. The
Yeah.
planning board
And I think that's
signed
how
the
it's
map,
concerned, is there
so-
are new rules,
There
but
was-
we can't apply those new rules to these old lots.
Seeker existed in 1988, but
How
none
it
of us
was
were here.
applied to
so-
this, we don't know.
Well,
But we have to trust our building inspector.
We
yeah,
do,
it's
he's
not,
doing-
it's not, we don't have a, we're not an enforcement board, right? So it goes through the building inspector, and then the building inspector will delegate to the boards as appropriate. So I don't think there's anything we could.
At this
We
point,
couldn't-
there's
we could
nothing
not
that
do.
we
Single
can do.
family homes it's permitted as of right on these lots. There's no site plan requirement. There's no, unless it
wetlands.
triggers.
There are some wetlands in the bottom of the property.
Okay.
So.
And that should be triggered to
Aquifer.
come.
If when they go to build on.
To
I would just-
Jonathan's attention.
Yes.
Talk to Jonathan,
Yeah,
yes.
you have
So
to talk,
when there's an
He has
application,
everything that I sent you folks.
Okay.
when there's somebody that's seeking a permit for that lot where those wetlands are, he will have to then
That's-
trigger a wetland review, but that hasn't happened
No,
yet.
no, it hasn't happened.
Yeah.
But there's an odd thing with that. If you go to the town website and you look up the Dutchess County part of it, the Office of Dutchess County, and it shows all the parcels, and when you click on any of the parcels, it says that this parcel, they all have the same parcel number now on the website when you go to the county, not the parcel number, the clerk number in the clerk book. Every parcel has the same number now, and it's listed as $1 million. So it looks to me, I don't know the answer, I'm not that technical. Looks to me now this has now become a subdivision parcel that this man is doing. And most of those lots are non-conforming because they're all flag lots. And I'm under the impression that non-conforming, again, correct me, but I was under the impression that non-conforming lots have to get looked at. They have to come before.
No.
These all have their own parcel numbers, they're separate. But what's the common number is final map number, I think is what you're looking at. Like 8178C, like that represents the subdivision map that created the lots. But each one has its own unique tax lot number.
No, when you click on the link now, it has one number, every property shows the same number.
It's not what I'm
And it
looking
says
at.
$1 million.
I'm not sure what you're looking at, Howard, but I think, Jonathan
I'm
will
looking
be
at the
the,
county clerk.
Oh, we're looking at parcel access.
This is Dutchess parcel access
on
map.
the county clerk, I'm not sure what,
I'm copying, sorry about that.
and that's okay, but what do you,
Like, these are all,
This is what I'm looking at.
Looking at tax rolls?
When you look at the county website, it shows each parcel there, but they all have the one number there, and it says $1 million under his name.
It could be because that's the owner of the property.
That's
Yes.
probably what he bought the parcels for.
So I'm thinking this now becomes, I don't know if it's true, that it may become a subdivision that he's trying to do.
no, these
I
are
think it's
existing
probably
lots.
just- It's probably just one person
Yes, it's,
who purchased all the lots,
Yeah.
and he'll sell them, or, the company will sell them individually, and it won't create anything new. That's more just how the.
well, I'm not trying to stop him, I just want somebody to look at what they put on the properties.
Jonathan's gonna do
Jonathan
that.
is the only one that can do that. We can't do that.
That's Jonathan.
But if they're not, if somebody wants to build something new on a non-conforming lot, then it would have to come
CBA.
to the ZBA, and then to us probably.
That's all I was concerned about, that somebody, look at it
Yeah.
and make sure something is right. And I don't know if Jonathan is able to decide that on his own completely, or there's some things he
That's his
has to
job.
do.
That's his job. When somebody comes with asking for permission to do something, to build something, it's his job to say, well, yes, you
Okay.
can do this, here's your permit, or, oh, no, you need to go before the ZBA, or you need to go before the planning board. That's his job.
Okay, that's what I was concerned about, because these are all flag lots, and they wouldn't be allowed today.
Not all
We
of them.
understand that.
A couple of them.
Well, what's left is all flag lots, as far as I
But
can tell
they're
on the map.
existing, yeah. I mean, they were made in 1988. They were modified with some lot line adjustments last year, but they're already approved lots. They're existing lots, so.
I don't think anybody's putting in a subdivision with new roads.
No.
It's not becoming a development in and of
I don't
itself.
know.
Yeah.
That's-
That's not what's happening. And if that was what was happening, that would come before us.
For sure.
But right now, I think you just have one individual or one organization who owns a bunch of lots, and they're going to try to
Existing
sell them, and then the people who buy them will do what they can do, subject to the code, and that's Jonathan's job.
Okay, first of all, I wasn't aware that some people don't have to come to you when they're doing building and construction. That was new to me.
Most people don't.
Most
I
people
Most
don't.
never knew that. All the years I've been doing
And
this,
that's
coming to
but it's
board and
Jonathan's
CAC, and never knew that.
Yeah.
So building permit.
make sure that-
isn't-
yeah.
You can get a building permit to build a house on a lot without coming to us.
Well, I thought the lot had to be conforming. That's,
If it's not conforming, then
goes to the
Jonathan will
ZBA.
advance it. But if it's just, if they're
A
building a
buildable
house
lot
that
that
meets all the
conforms.
setbacks requirements,
They
then
can
they
just
don't
go
need
ahead.
to come to us.
well, every one of those, it says someplace else in the code that these flag lots have to be one bigger. If they're like 1 acre lot has to be 1.5 acres. So every one of those lots is only 1 acre and a little bit of change. So none of those lots are conforming.
So Jonathan will take a look at
Jonathan.
that. I mean, these were
Yes.
created the way they are. Like the 1.4 acre flag lot right here was made and signed off by the planning board in 1988 on a subdivision. So-
And as Jonathan wrote in the
They're
email
existing.
response to you today, he will look at these when the permits come up for each of these lots.
Okay.
This is something that and he's aware of your concerns, so
They're not
nobody's going to be pulling a fast one.
I'm not trying
Yeah.
don't get me wrong here, I'm not trying to stop these people, I just want to be sure that they get looked at, so there's not something on there that, you really shouldn't have or don't want, and so on. That's all I'm interested
It's
in.
good you let him know about your concerns, because there's potential that, eventually those applications or
Yeah.
requests for permits
And
will
maybe
come in,
keep them
so-
updated. If you see activity, call Jonathan and say, hey, they're building on this lot, and if he knows about it, great, and if he doesn't, he'll address it. But I think that's
That's all
squarely
you can
within
do.
his
So there is-
responsibility.
Yeah.
You're right in that these I think these 4 lots, this lot below it does have, looks like a pond there. So, if there's disturbance within 100 feet of that, it certainly would come to the planning board for
Yeah.
wetlands permit. So-
So
All
there are
right,
some
but
that I
Howard, we
think-
need to move on
Okay,
to
no,
the
that's
next
fine.
thing.
Thank you for
Okay.
actually taking
Thank
the
you.
time.
Sure.
I appreciate that.
Okay. So the next thing we have to discuss is the application fees. And if Adam and/or Eric can tell us where you are on this.
Okay, so what we've prepared for the group is a discussion guide, intended just to be that, some thoughts that we've had that everyone should participate in, sort of where we go from here. We took as the goal to reduce the cost and complexity of moving projects through the board, expanded a little bit just from escrow. In terms of escrow, some of the thoughts are treating it on a case-by-case basis, developing a formula for determining, not deterring, escrow requirements. Some of the ideas we had were the size of the lot, measured by acreage perhaps, the assessed value of the property, whether it's being done by an individual or some sort of corporate entity, the type of request, whether it be a lot line adjustment, an addition, a special use permit, or just a simple signage. Richard kind of beat us to the punch here with some specific recommendations that we thought were very good that we've included here. So that's...
Well, there's some background to that, because during the last meeting you were here, and we were discussing how we would come up with some criteria for it.
Mhm.
And I just said, well, we'll create some criteria, and everybody laughed and said, well, what's the criteria? So the next day I sat down and
Yeah,
said,
it's
let's
really
try
good.
this criteria.
Good
That's-
starting
that's-
point.
Yeah, and I'm always open for just taking yes for an answer and moving on. We then had some thoughts on additional questions. Can it be determined at a preliminary workshop at the first meeting? If we know, as you were just saying now, wetlands are going to be involved, would that trigger a higher requirement? Should the length of a lot line be considered? So in other words, a lot of this is just the simpler the project. We have to ask people for significant amounts of money up front. So that's sort of that part of it. I'm not sure how you want to proceed from here.
I just have one thought that I keep having when I look at these things is, I don't know when the lot size, I see the lot size being used as a determinant for escrow on other towns. You gave us some samples and we had it. I don't really see in our review of these that the lot size has ever really made much of a difference. It's almost irrelevant. So I think things like maybe how many buildings are being put up, or whether it's commercial, whether it's resident, those sorts of things, but it's hard for me to see how lot size has ever.
Square footage of new construction is commonly used.
Yeah, and that's one of Richard's
Square footage
criteria
of new
that
construction.
was proposed.
I think that's
Yeah.
a measure of the
I
complexity.
mean, I think that,
for
that,
sure.
that in our discussion last
Because there
week
could
and
be
what you
200 acres
emailed,
and
these are simply
199 aren't even
possible
construction,
criteria
example,
to
yeah.
consider
Right.
in finding a way to quantify any kind of decision that we might make. We don't want to be seen as being arbitrary. It can't be
Absolutely.
seen as
Yeah, I would agree about lot size, because I can think of my neighbors who have
There's a lot of
totally
big lots
modest
in this town.
houses on 25 acres, and it wouldn't be fair to ask them, to
Because they're doing some small thing on
Right.
their property because they're
Or
on
you
a
have
large
200
lot.
acres, but you're only doing work within 1 acre.
Yeah.
It just.
I like the
That's very
square
irrelevant.
footage of new
Square
construction
footage
is
of
is one
construction.
good.
So it's not fair to assume that the longer,
So-
the larger the
Value-
property, the more complex it's likely to be.
I don't think so. I don't feel that that's ever been in the cases that we've looked at. And also another one that doesn't, our code had it where, or our escrow fee form had it where up to this amount, up to $10,000 of construction,
costs.
of development costs, which we don't really know what development costs meant. And then more than that. But I don't really know what that means either. Like, up to $10,000 of something, we could do just as much work for something that they have 500,000. I say, that's maybe not true, but something that has $50,000 worth of development costs and $10,000. What is the difference in what our consultants are going to do on that application that's going to cost more? I don't see it.
It's not a good measure, because if somebody's buying really expensive tile, right, it's gonna drive up the development costs and trigger a high escrow fee.
One thing that can be known, though, like even for this project that was just in front of us, which is a very complicated project, they can look at their existing structures that are there, what they want, what they could envision for like an event center or whatever it is, and kind of estimate what the new square footage or new construction square footage might be. And I think most people in their home can probably do that too. Do they want to double their footprint size?
It's
Do
like
they just
Renee and
want to
Alex,
change
they
the
said they're
bedroom?
putting 1,800 square foot
dou-
addition onto their
Yeah, they're more than
house.
doubling theirs, yeah. But so I think most people can kind of estimate the new construction square footage.
And when
Yeah.
we consider that on a building or things like, and this is the only place where I would say lot size matters, is, cutting a driveway, right? Like, that sort of thing where you have,
Is it a mile driveway versus a 200?
Yeah. Well, area disturbance would cover that as well.
yeah, so area of disturbance, I guess. Area of disturbance, square footage of new construction, those are probably two good
But if you're
measures.
rehabilitating something, it's gonna be, it needs a special use permit, say the training center.
Yeah,
The
Cottonwood.
Ray's training.
Oh,
It was taking an existing building and renovating it inside to be used as personal training from another use, and that was a special use permit.
There was barely anything disturbed.
that was so, that was.
Yeah, so, but, I guess the floor area of the use might be important, but it wasn't,
Yeah,
much.
and that wouldn't have been a good
One
estimate
thing
of
I
that.
did notice in the two.
And again, the escrow gets refunded if it's not used.
The escrow doesn't get, exactly.
But it's still, I would
It
say,
can be a
it's still a
burden.
burden.
Oh, sure.
On a private individual to have to put forward $2,000, whatever it is.
However, the samples that Hannah gave us from Wappingers and Fishkill, they take a lot more escrow than we do.
Yeah.
That jumped out at me right away. I thought, we're worrying about our taxpayers coming for us and how much we're asking from them. All of these towns are taking way more money. So it made me feel like, yes, we should be looking at this, but I have less of a concern than I
Is that
did.
because they're bigger, is that 'cause they're much bigger jurisdictions?
Well, I
They
just
still-
picked up the villages, it's a menu of.
And how do they
costs.
compare?
Well, for instance, a lot line change, and they have different categories based on acreage, but the escrow is $2,000 for the village, right?
Just for a lot line change.
Yep, or site plan escrow 2,000. It's 2,000 across the board, except for special permit and site plan 2,000.
Look, we're kind of cheap.
do you want the risk to be honored? And like, I think the purpose is a very good one, saying we want applicants to be able to feel like they can even come before the planning board because they can't even access our
The worry is if
resource.
it's too expensive, that people are gonna do these things.
They
and-
find
and
other
they're not
ways.
gonna involve us.
Yeah.
They're not gonna involve the
Right.
town and the boards
Then
that
they
they
end
should
up-
be, especially for water.
Then they get a
So
violation.
this is timing. This is more a timing issue, isn't it? It's not necessarily the amount of the escrow. It's making sure people come in the first place. So it's, you know, is this that it's prohibitive if you say $10,000 to walk in the door. That's the problem.
Yeah.
And to me,
And-
that
and
seems
the-
like a really solvable problem, which is that you kind of lower the
Initial-
the initial
the entry,
step,
yeah.
the
When we-
entry fee.
That makes a
doesn't-
lot of work, though, for the secretary, who then
does.
ends up waiting and kind of chasing people down for the money and making phone calls and waiting for them to bring more in before we,
Yeah,
you know.
so you have that initial requirement, right? And a lot of towns, one thing they do, and some of them that we work in, they use that first meeting, and one of the actions that they take is increasing the escrow to X amount as an action item after they see the application for the first time.
That's where the things we-
Anticipating what the consultants anticipate it's gonna take, and
And
you
that-
set an amount.
That has to
I
be
really
made
like that approach,
And I
but
told them up front, just expect to be, it's gonna be a lot. For
My-
Renee's application, I think I said, we don't
You
need to
said we
increase
were
it over
good
the
because
initial 1,500, because we're not gonna spend that.
You need to
my only
fix
concern
those.
with that, though, was after reading Hannah's memo, because her memo made clear that you want to have some sort of a system in place.
Sure.
You can't be seen then to discriminate against one kind of application versus another, or, you know, there has to be some rational basis and an understanding of why we're doing it.
And that was one.
Yeah, I was gonna say
That's the
objective
word.
criteria.
Objective criteria
I
is
think you
perfect.
can have a sliding scale, right? So wetland application, you're automatically increasing that massively. And I think that's
Yes.
a no-brainer.
We spend a
right?
lot of time on them, yes.
Hospitality overlay, no, like big, right? Even for just whether they go through with it or not. I mean, I think there's things that we know are, you know, complicated.
So two things. One, when we started this conversation, one of the first things we did was go onto our website to try and find where on that website this information is outlined, and it wasn't readily clear.
I find that amazing, only because we have tried so hard, and because now I am on the website all the time, I know exactly where to go. So I'm
Yeah.
not
So,
saying that you're not right, it's just, we have tried to be clear.
If I were a member of the public wanting to say, you know, figure out how much money I would have to come up with for an application, it wasn't necessarily
jumping out.
crystal clear.
Yeah.
Versus I walked into the village office and they handed me this paper and it's all right there. So that's an issue that we
Can
can.
I see that?
We should have something like that.
We can
do.
resolve that
That's a PDF that
easily.
lives on our website
We
or
do.
that we have printed.
I just didn't
We do,
find-
it's right, planning board fees, but I'm
This
saying,
is-
that's what, like, he.
There was an FAQ
it
that
bothers
was
me when
like
people say they can't find
20
it.
points
because-
Two
long.
members of our own planning board who know the process who didn't find it easy to find.
No, I'm not disagreeing
Yeah.
with that, that's just that it's troubling to me, that how do we make it
These are lower
more,
than ours.
how do we make it more obvious on the
Yeah.
website?
They're lower than ours.
I'll tell you, I think these,
Planning board fees, right there.
yeah, I
You know,
think,
like, to me, it's right there, but.
Fees, I'm not the escrow fees.
And
I
that's
think
a
they
document that
recent-
you could get as a handout if you walked in and
Yeah.
spoke to the secretary as well.
These are the escrow fees.
I think the village recently changed their fees, so these
Our
are talking
initial's
about what they did.
1,500.
So I was at their last meeting,
did.
they were really
Yeah, that's
pleased
it, I think.
with the amount of money they've taken in.
Really?
Yeah, they
Okay.
had like
I think this
a
should
banner a
be-
couple of months, which I don't know, is such a great thing.
No, but they may have
I
been
think that's
underwater
it.
with it for a while, you know,
Yeah.
they may have been feeling like they
Hospitality.
had a hard time
Invest.
managing.
I still do
$1,500.
Peters.
For
For
wetlands,
our attorney
for wetlands, you
and our
have
planner.
That's the escrow fees,
Steve Marie
yeah.
would pay too, not just me.
That's
So
what
because
it
if we
is.
don't ask for enough, the risk is that then they
So-
walk away from it and then we still have the bill.
And that has happened
And
in
the
the
town is
past.
They
responsible.
abandoned the
Yeah.
project,
That's the risk.
right.
Yeah, and then they
So
just
that's
don't.
the risk,
they
is
just
if we
say.
don't ask for enough, then we might be stuck holding the bill for the attorneys and the planner.
Which is why a lot of the towns set them so high, because they just want to protect against that.
Yeah, they want to have
at
zero
all
risk.
costs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess that's kind of what it comes down to too, is when we decide on this, it's like
But-
how much risk are we willing to take?
But I think that goes back to what you were saying
I don't
about
think we
certain
should-
circumstances where it makes sense to set
The numbers need to
the
stay
amount
high.
at a higher level, right? Wetland.
Yeah, so the
I
initial.
think we need to set something clear that identifies the circumstances that we
Disturbance.
typically deal with, right? Like this,
Guidelines.
and this is it, right? A minor subdivision, major
We
subdivision.
have that.
Right, and
We
wetland.
have that document.
Yeah.
It's on our website.
I don't think it's quite as
as good as that.
It's not as visually clear as this.
We'll try to flag things, like sometimes when the application comes in and we do our initial memo and it took quite a bit of time to do it because there was issues that come up in the code or things that we've noticed that we didn't think about. And we have an estimate of how much that effort was to get you that first memo. If we think, hey, you know, and the comments are enough that they have to respond to certain things and provide more information, and we're going to be back to more meetings, that's the time maybe we recommend
You could say that this is the
establishing
initial fee.
an initial amount of escrow.
But,
because of
subject
X, Y, and Z.
to,
Yeah.
you know, consultation and planning board.
Well, that's what the initial is used for, get in the door, get the first review.
And that's what I
memo.
I revised it recently, and I said that. I said, you know, that initial escrow deposit for everybody's $1,500. And then that an additional escrow will be determined at the first planning board meeting. And this additional escrow can vary from $2,000 to $10,000 and will be determined by the complexity of the matter and the amount of legal and/or planning consultant
Yeah.
advice required.
If there's
That's what we
several
discussed
meetings
at
that
our
we're gonna have,
meeting
if you need to-
two meetings
If you need us to
ago.
go to a site visit,
So
it's all time.
if the people from Ramble Hill came back and wanted to propose an application, how would we set an escrow amount without seeming to be arbitrary?
I think that the missing piece from that is that you have to have set criteria and set tranches between 2,000 and 10,000. Otherwise, it's going to be totally subjective. And that's too much work for us, and it creates, I think, so many issues. So I would create tranches. Like if it's, you know, it shouldn't be between 2,000 and 10,000 and we just pick. I think it should be, you know, delineated based on the types of projects.
But that's where we're struggling, is like, what is that?
Well,
We need, somebody needs.
I mean,
come up
and
with
what
a
about, I mean, well, I don't, you know, I think that for these kinds of projects, I mean, I'm not sure that we're actually way off the mark, but for something like hospitality, that project should not be $10,000. That project should be
It's gonna be more than that.
$50,000.
It's gonna be a lot more than that, yeah.
And if somebody is coming with this project and can't pay $50,000, then they cannot do that project. So, I mean.
Yeah.
And that's
Minimum,
totally.
50 minimum.
And that's totally different. That's somebody who's in for profit, like they're developing this land to make money. We're also, I think our main concern are the citizens who live in our communities who want to come and do these projects to better their life, better their properties. So maybe if it's like a commercial, whatever, then maybe that's a different level. Maybe it's just a commercial application.
But then you have like the
Right.
you know, major hospitality development is on one side of a commercial application, and you have someone
Right.
With a, you know, small business like a gym.
And the criteria can't be based on how much you think that they are going to make.
Yeah.
The criteria has to be how much you think it's going to cost for us to review.
Yeah.
The complexity of the project.
So if you have, not all subdivisions are the same either, you have small or minor subdivisions.
Yeah, we have a different section that's for subdivisions. That was for something else. That we have a whole breakdown based on number of lots.
Okay, very
So
good.
for subdivisions. One other thing just to bring up in this was, we keep having these people who go before the ZBA. The ZBA grants their variances and then sends them to us, subject to site plan review. And every time they've paid their fees and paid their escrow to the ZBA, and then they're coming before us, and there's two issues there. They come before us and they were getting huge escrows, which we didn't give to the Casertanos. You said it was enough that they did their $1,500 escrow. But they also have 2 public hearings.
Yep.
And somebody, or I think it was you guys, maybe suggested that, is there a way that we could do that together, that we could avoid, is there something?
I was going to look. I don't think they can. I think that's New York state law. I think you have to have the public hearing.
Unless there's a specific provision in the code that allows for you to waive the public hearing.
And there isn't for this type of thing, I believe. I think we've looked at that before.
But could we not participate? Is there a way to make it a joint meeting?
That's what we're.
I don't think
not
so.
without an application to the planning
I
board.
don't think so, because it's like 2 different bodies,
Yeah.
and they have different laws governing each body. and
Right.
It's just an awkward thing that causes people a lot of.
concerned, and it ties them up for a whole nother month.
It
Yeah.
does.
And it costs them
2
more
months.
money.
It ties them up for 2 more
And
months
if
is
you
what it
didn't, all
does.
the concerns would have been voiced in the ZBA public hearing.
I think we do have the ability to waive a public hearing.
I think we looked at this once. I
think we can, we
can't
can
swear
public
by-
hearings.
Some of them, there's something, subdivision and lot line adjustment, I believe you have the
And
authority.
we definitely
to
have it with
We
lot
have
line
waived
adjustments,
plans.
but that's in the
Public
code.
hearing.
We do not, I
It's
don't
based on the
believe
code.
that we have it
Special permit.
for this, no, it's a site plan approval. I don't believe we
Yes, I
have
think we
it.
have site plan.
We
approval.
looked at it
There's
at
no-
some point.
We
and-
did, yeah.
Could, one can't absorb the other? The planning board, public hearing can't absorb and have the ZBA
No,
find
'cause
It
it?
we're
would
two
require
separate
you to all
bodies.
come together to be hearing
And we
issues
can't
from
do
the
that.
public from different kinds of applications.
Right.
Yeah.
Two
I
boards.
mean, the
are-
problem with all of this also is that all the fees are doubled. I mean, let's forget about the commercial stuff. Let's just talk about someone that comes to do a relatively simple thing in their home. All the fees they're paying to us, they're also paying it to their own representatives, to their own attorney, their own
It's
engineers.
twice the cost,
That-
twice the time.
I know. So there's got to be some way to try to, I mean, is there a way to combine your work with the other, for one group to do the work, to simplify the process, to?
But everyone needs their own
But
person.
hold
So-
on a second, when you're,
Well,
he works for
ZBA's
us.
already
I
kind of
understand,
told
I
us,
understand.
just to get on, just so you know, the ZBA has told us, like, as of a couple months ago, we'll let you know if we want a memo from you on this or not, or if we can handle it ourselves. So they're doing that now.
Right.
ZBA is. Frank Gretel, chairman, is telling us, no need to look at this one, we got it, or yeah, they give us a memo for this. And then they tell us if they want us to come to the meeting or not. So that's an option too for smaller applications that might not be a big deal. Do you want us involved or not? That's a choice you can make.
Well, we've got so dependent on you.
Yeah.
That's,
I'm
but
just
that's,
calling it
that's
out.
also
I mean-
tricky though. I think
And
that's
then you're at the
tricky.
meeting for other applications
Yeah.
anyway.
I feel like because
I mean,
they don't do seeker. They
We're
don't,
on,
they don't do
we're
seeker
hired as your
analysis.
pretty much full-time planner, so we're not on for
It
certain
is simpler. It's
special
not the same
applications.
thing.
I think it's
I-
much easier for them to do that than for us to.
I think that there's risk in that, and that you could have somebody's project go awry because we were trying to save a few dollars for them.
Yeah.
By deciding totally subjectively that we think we can handle this. I mean, I think that on seeker, on some of these technical ones.
With the wetlands issues that we face all the time.
I would
with
be
it.
really.
I'm not saying this was
I think-
right, but we went years
Yeah.
with complicated projects, and we never had anybody
what?
helping us.
With what?
But we all
With
on the board then had
complicated
to spend
projects.
hours every month
Yeah.
reading the code and looking things up, and like.
And I'm sure we made mistakes.
Yeah, we didn't always get it right.
No.
Well, I think
I
the
promise
ZBA
you.
is,
I'm not saying it was the right thing to do. I'm
the
just
case
saying
of,
we
the
used to do
situation
that.
with the ZBA that we have is, they still have Kyle from Vandewater there at all the meetings to provide whatever
Okay.
code and
we
legal
did, we had our
advice, but
attorney all the time.
for all these things that are like type 2 actions, and do we really need a memo from AKRF about the setbacks, and when we can get the information from the applicant, that's what they decided to do. But they still have legal advice there, so they're not totally unprotected, but still. It's up to you. I mean, the arrangement that we have is that we look at everything. Some towns hire us just to look at certain big projects that come in, nothing else. So we end up sometimes, for other towns where we're like special assignments, we go to a planning board meeting and we wait through a couple of agenda items that we have no business talking about, so we just, check emails and don't listen. Then when the ones that we are involved with come up, we're there. So it's not uncommon, but it's up to you to decide if that's what you
I
want.
mean, there are certainly some simpler ones where I could see us not needing your involvement, particularly ones where they've already gone through the ZBA and they're coming here for site plan approval. That's fairly simple. There are certain ones, maybe. But who's making that decision? Like, is that me every month waiting through what we have and saying, well, I don't really feel comfortable that
Yeah.
being my determination, and
Yeah.
or,
I drove past that little sign the other day. It's just like a little sign that we
Oh,
spent all that time in
yes.
the public hearing on. It was a nice little sign.
What
you know?
about, what is our ability to waive fees? Do we have ability?
I don't think we have an ability to waive fees. We don't, the escrow is kind of up to us, but
can
fees
waive
are the
escrow
town
fees.
has set certain prescribed fees, and that is what it is.
I mean, do we want to have something that if escrow fees pose a hardship, please contact, the chairman and we'll evaluate on a case-by-case basis? I mean, I know that's a scary idea to throw that out there, but I think most people probably, if they're doing a project, can afford the escrow fees. And if they have a question and, or it's a small project and it's a stretch for them, I mean, maybe, I don't know, consider it.
But then the only way we can do that, waiving escrow fees, is if we then don't use consultants or lawyers, because otherwise the town is then going to
Yeah.
be paying that, and we
There's a bill.
can't authorize the town to
Yeah.
be paying this, so I don't really see that as a
Yeah.
way, anything that we can realistically do.
Would you mind if we ask Doug?
No, go ahead, Doug, please.
Do
John.
you think that the town should be absorbing some of these fees?
I will tell you that we are already absorbing a large amount. Legal fees
Very
and
large.
consultant fees that are not, the way the code is written, for example, it says something to the effect of that legal fees can be charged to the applicant when they're in to directly review your application. So anything that comes up for the lawyer, if there's a challenge to that application and the lawyer is looking into the challenge, all of those fees are eaten by the town already. So we already eat a bunch of stuff. We're already we're already underwater on this thing.
And that's specific to the town board stuff, or is it?
No, it's
No, it's
planning board,
fine.
anything
Okay,
that,
for
Planning
anything.
board
he's talking
and
about
ZBA.
like a lawsuit coming to a
Like
decision.
Article 78.
In Article 78, that's,
There's multiple
So-
Article
Yeah.
78s.
But
I think-
Article 78 is different, that's,
I mean, our job is to try to prevent that from happening.
yes, I feel like that's what you guys do every time.
I feel
But-
like we're talking
yeah.
about this in the abstract, though. Like,
Yeah.
this is, and I raised this a couple weeks ago. I wasn't here last week, and I don't know if we got anywhere on it. But do we have, on a project-by-project basis, how much we charged, how much the escrow was, how much the fees actually were, and who ended up bearing, the cost of it?
escrow tracking that I did.
Okay.
We should look at that.
Can we look at that? Because I feel like we could talk about this.
I can definitely email you some that are positive and some that are negative.
Can we see everything for the last, 24 months?
I don't
Or-
know. I can only give you what I've done.
So you're tracking
Okay.
it on a case-by-case basis. What I'm asking about
Yeah.
is how is it being tracked across the board?
I don't think anybody, do
No.
you do that, Doug?
I'm sorry.
So-
Between
so,
planning
I mean,
board
like-
and ZBA?
No, like any, so if I were thinking about escrow fees and whether our numbers are correct and whether, we're placing unnecessary risk on the town, I would want to understand the big picture, right? So we have a project comes in, we charge $10,000 escrow, actually it ends up being 15,000, the person doesn't pay, we're stuck with 5,000. Well, in that case, we didn't charge enough up front,
Yeah.
right? So we've absorbed too much
Too much
risk.
of the risk.
So that's one scenario. Another scenario is person paid $10,000, the escrow fee was $2,000, so we've massively overcharged that person.
Yeah.
But it's hard to do this on a case-by-case basis. I think you would need to look at
What the trend is.
what the trend is.
Exactly.
And-
I don't think that information is readily available.
I don't know how we have this conversation without it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I feel like we could make things up, but we have absolutely no idea what we're aiming for.
I think the town is probably the only place that has that information of what the final bill was per project.
And we do have a bookkeeper,
I mean, this is a
Because we don't
project in
see
and of
that.
itself. I mean,
Yeah.
are you?
It's-
are
I
you-
should,
We have
one thing I
invoices,
should
the
say
town has
is,
invoices.
we should not have anyone, I don't believe, since I've been chair, who has not paid. Because I don't sign those maps until I've been told. I don't
So
sign
where's all this
the
extra money that
final
you're paying
stuff.
for if it's not
that-
from the planning board? Or it is from the planning board?
So what are you absorbing? What are you absorbing that's not being covered by escrow?
They're saying they're not even billing them.
Article 78.
Yeah, but that's something separate. But I'm talking, but that's
Not
different.
only-
They can't
well,
charge them for
I
it.
mean,
we're
obviously in
still on
Article
road.
78,
I'm not
the
even
town
aware
is
of
different.
any
The town is
articles.
It's
different.
So our
That has
road
nothing to do with-
application is,
Right.
at the
Well, the
top.
killer,
Being
that's,
sued. Is
Because
there
it's a
something-
town
tons of money,
application.
but that's the
Advance to
town.
prevent that.
I don't know if there's somebody
78's
being sued on anything we've done.
pretty much any challenge to anything in the ZBA that's not directly related to reviewing the, I don't think
An
there's
appeal,
any
yeah.
in the
Appeals.
planning board.
78 pending.
Again,
So it's not- yeah.
eight months on the board here, so.
Yeah.
But what you're talking about are challenges
Are
that are sort of,
lawsuits.
are lawsuits, legal challenges, or municipal projects, right? So those are, I
Well, it
mean,
doesn't even have to get that far. If it's just somebody that throws a challenge before it even becomes a lawsuit. Even
Right.
long before it became an Article 78, there were multiple challenges to multiple cases in front of the ZBA.
I know about that.
Right, so appeals to the ZBA, right, appeals to the ZBA. Your lawyer's gonna have to pay for representing, you know, the ZBA or the planning board. I mean, that to me, that makes sense, that's the point of the town lawyer. I get that.
The other instance is that I saw a case where
It's been denied
a
and-
town was actually sued because they were not abiding by basically the reasonableness requirements of escrow. So escrow charged, not escrow set that could eventually be returned. That's not really charged. I mean, like escrow actually charged to the applicant that we're drawing out of the escrow needs to be both reasonable and necessary. So the board should be making a determination on every application whether the charges that are actually going to the applicant are reasonable and necessary.
Okay. I mean, so it sounds like it's not, these fees for our applications outside of an Article 78 challenge are not, or the Clarendon Road project, which is obviously like a municipal
separate,
project.
yeah.
They're not being absorbed by the town, so.
No, we seem, I bet that if we looked at ours, they're all being paid. I just
Yeah.
don't see how,
Okay,
there's
so-
not gonna be too much.
Because it's only abandoned or rejected projects. We haven't had a lot.
And I
She's
don't
so good at
sign
checking it.
anything
She doesn't sign
until
anything
I make
until-
sure that the fees have been
I'm sure
paid.
there's lots of
So-
thread about what the problem is we're trying to solve if everybody's paying.
Well, I think we should just go back to the beginning of, is there anything we can do to improve these fees? And if somebody wants to take a stab at rewriting our planning board fee document with some suggested categories, some, improving what we have.
I think the
Yes,
first
Deb.
question was that we thought maybe our fees or our escrow fees were out of line with maybe what other towns are doing or
And it
what.
turns out-
And it turns out, I mean, so maybe that was the first step of like, are we being fair? Is this, and it sounds like we're on par, if not, or maybe
I
less.
think we're less than what
other
I
towns are doing.
reviewed.
Wappinger and Fishkill use consulting planners and attorneys and engineers. Actually, they have a third, an engineer, that's always at every meeting as well. So that's probably another reason why
They're larger municipalities. so-
But even larger municipalities have smaller homes and people doing the same types of things that we would see. They'll have larger developments, but their fees are still going to apply for all of those regular Joes coming in with their normal applications.
Yeah, it just seems that, I mean, I can't remember the name of the woman that wanted to do something with her home so her aging parents could move in
Yeah.
with her.
Yeah.
What,
It was Todd, Sherry Todd.
yeah, I wonder what her overall fees were, aside from the actual work on the.
Can you find that out for us, what Sherry Todd paid in full, and email
She
us?
actually is one of the ones that's in the positive.
Yeah, but
No.
tell us
Would that
what,
be just be
tell us what
A
her,
lot of invoices
Yeah.
against her escrow.
yeah.
So that's a great one then, because
Yeah.
that's
Let us
exactly
know what
the
her
projects
fees
that
were.
Because that's where we want to be
Absolutely.
reasonable.
Yeah.
If someone comes with
Yeah.
a commercial venture.
Does everybody get Excel?
I
Let me
think
ask
she's
that
exactly who
first.
we're thinking
Yes.
of.
That's
when
exactly
we-
right.
That
Yes.
person is exactly the kind of person you're
Yes.
thinking of
Yeah.
for this discussion. is-
Right.
And Ray,
we want-
and Ray.
And Ray.
Yeah, those are the two.
Those two that kind of
perfect
bother,
Like the
we were
signage
concerned
thing,
about those people.
I mean.
Yeah, so if we could look at those, but then you get something like Clear, and of course, that was a massive project, it was very contentious in the first
Yeah,
meeting.
there was gonna be money for
Started out
that.
that way, we almost approved that.
But you know what, the Ray's thing reminds me of another point. We should have something in our code that allows us to amend a prior application approval. He came back to us, he had gotten approval for his special permit to move his business to that location, but he forgot about the sign. And then a year later comes back with
You're
the
right.
sign, and we had to charge him fees and do the whole, there should be
hearing.
some,
Yeah.
we'd already done all the work for the thing. It was just this little piece of it,
Yeah.
and
And the sign
but we
was
didn't have a way
totally compliant
out.
with the code.
I know,
It's not
that
like
was
he's
so
asking for
silly.
some variance or
Yeah.
some weird permit or.
No, it was
It was
all
totally
within
in
the code.
compliance with.
So that would be a good thing to try to change as well. If there's some way we can just have an amended application for a minor change or something.
Or if it's like a new application and it's really just adding a sign to a prior thing, then we say, okay, we're waiving the fees on this. We should be,
Can we waive the public hearing on that?
we should waive everything on that. That is
But we had to have
ridiculous.
a
Remember, he had to come
hearing.
back.
We had to have a, we can't waive everything. The
No.
code, we run into problems with that in the code.
Yeah, I wish we could, I mean, that was,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, see,
I
Doug, you were gonna say
apologize
something.
For opening this can of worms, however how many months ago. But maybe the the silver lining of this is maybe not so much to look at. I do think that you have to look at what Aaron's costs are, what the legal costs are, to maybe think about fees and escrow and all that kind of stuff. But maybe there's a bigger picture here as far as code improvements.
Yeah.
As far as what?
Code improvements.
Yes, yeah, yes. Simplification.
And,
I feel like every time.
you know, it's,
We've always have code improvements though, and then they don't happen.
They don't go anywhere.
Well,
It's demoralizing after a
Yeah, we
while.
work really hard on them, and then they don't go
They
anywhere.
don't- they don't
And it's like, what are we
materialize.
supposed to-
I will do my best to
All right, so maybe we can make a small list of things that we think could be improved.
yeah.
So
You
we
know,
can
Did
start
that whole
with this.
exercise.
I mean, the steps are the same, obviously, to do a small list is, you know, we're gonna have to go through the same hoops, but if they're all related, if you can think about it and they're all in one section, and we think about one section of the code that we wanna work on, and there's some changes that can be made, I think the board is very open to making improvements right now.
What about the, I mean, we had that whole project that Leslie ran, and we had all these subcommittees, and we had this huge list of all of the changes to the code that we wanted to make. And it was happening around the same time as, I feel like either STR or hospitality, and the decision was like, we're just gonna try to get these passed and not worry about that. And so there was a huge amount, were you involved in this too, right? Didn't we have like, we had like
So much work.
We had a huge amount of work. I mean, it was hours and hours of work.
Yeah, it was for the E-code so that that could be put up.
Yeah.
and-
Okay.
And it was minimal word changing so that it matched
Yeah.
normal, and which we have the resolution, we've accepted it. But it didn't change any of the problems in the code, which requires committees.
But we did have committees. I was on a committee
Yeah,
with
but I-
Leslie, and we had a number of people, Frank
But that
Rettel,
was-
and
that was for minor wording. It
no,
wasn't
no,
for-
we definitely had some
proposed major
more
language.
substantive
I know, we also-
changes.
we also
submitted
it was
stuff
to
that we
be
thought
some-
maybe
the
we had
word I
run
can't
into
say right
some
now,
issues.
To supplement the other one,
The change,
yeah.
But there was no process further than that. That had to go through public hearings and all the other stuff
Yeah.
for it to be changed. as
But I don't
a-
even know where that information is anymore. That went with Leslie, you know, like
Didn't come to me.
The
I have no,
CAC
there's so much work went into that. I
The
can't,
CAC
I
has
spent.
asked for that several times
So
from our
ask
town.
Leslie for it.
We can't get
Yeah.
I can't get the information why it didn't get changed, what was changed from the wording. We've asked the town attorney several times, we've changed
Well,
town
the town
attorneys.
attorney has changed a handful. of
Exactly,
times,
it's
so that's,
changed several times, so we can't get an answer.
Yeah, it's
But to-
frustrating.
Was that Joe?
Yeah,
Or-
Yes,
Joel.
Joe.
Yes.
But to alter any code wording now, I mean, anything that isn't, minor, you literally have to have a committee, and you have to have public hearings, and you have to have people say,
We
yes,
did
I
that with
agree
the
to this, no, I
wetlands.
don't agree to this. You can't just change it.
Mhm.
You can't actually even have the town board change it. It still has to go through public hearings and
What
work.
I mean, we have to jump through the same hoops.
You have to do
But
a lot of hoops to get.
Whether, if we're gonna do it, it needs to be
That's why if you
a
can get it all.
substantial change.
Yeah, if you can get all the wording and all this, and we did, I mean, I had from the original code, things that I had given to Mary, this doesn't coordinate with this, and that is what got changed in the E-code. Things matched up the way they were supposed to in the end, but as far as this doesn't jive, that doesn't work,
Yeah.
this
Could-
makes it difficult to do this. And there are a
Could I
couple of other things that are,
Explore one other idea here, I'm sorry.
yeah, no, I was just gonna say, there's a couple of other things that don't jive, that
Right.
one cancels the other thing. I'm not going to say what they are because then people would play with that.
But is there a way to look at areas where boards have discretion and expand on those within the existing code? I'll give you an
I
example.
think that's a smart way to approach it.
We have this house now that's right next to the stream on one of these roads back here. Older couple, they want to build an extension, they want to build it closer to the wetland,
Buffer, right.
to the buffer, right? And so
Further into it.
Howard says, you have to look to see if there's a practical way to do something else with it, to build it farther away. But then we have to look at what's the practical need of the homeowner. And so we're going to decide that. There's going to be arguments on either side of it. So if there's something like that, Can that obviate the need for some layers of the work that has to be done by lawyers and consultants? And can we do it under the comfort or protection of areas that the board has discretion? It's barely a half an
It would have been nice to have
idea.
discretion about that sign. It would have been nice to have
Yes.
discretion about a number of things where we could have decreased the
If it's gonna
cost
come-
and the-
But
If it's
we
gonna
are
come down to-
constrained by the code, and in that case, in that sign case, it was specific to Mabbittsville. Mabbittsville is very particular in that hamlet area, and we were stuck with this.
The gas station.
That, that's on there. And,
Don't
yeah,
discuss the gas
and the gas station
I
still
didn't say gas
has the
station.
sign of the sign.
Very, very sore subject with that end of Mabbittsville. Those neighbors are very upset still, don't know.
So we are,
Well-
we do have these constraints, and without, like a lot of times, the code says, this is for X application, you have to have a public hearing. It doesn't give us the ability to waive these things, and there are certain, like a lot line adjustment, we do have that ability. We do it all the time, we waive
Yeah.
that public hearing. But we can't make it up, we can't say, oh, well, we should have
No, but in that
discretion,
case, the
so
one I just
let's.
decided, we're gonna make the call at the end.
Eric, I think we do have the discretion to do what you're talking about. I don't think that there's anything that requires us to utilize our consultants and attorneys
Absolutely not.
to analyze whether we think a project is appropriate or what the scope should be. I mean, I think all this input is helpful, but there's no legal
No.
requirement that I'm aware of that says that we have to have our consultants weigh in.
No.
No, we did it all the time
And I think that's what we
had.
had.
That's kind of what Aaron just said.
That's Aaron's saying.
So maybe that's an earlier start, and then when you need to do that is when the escrow kicks in. I don't know. It'll probably be more often than not.
I have a concern that if we do that, though, we have people come to a meeting, their first meeting, we don't have Aaron involved, and then we start talking about it, and we really, well, okay, we now need Aaron. Okay, that's one meeting down, and then now they have another meeting they're coming. Like, we are going to end up with a lot of applications where all we've done is add a month
Right.
to the
but-
people's process.
And again, I'm kind of just making this up, but if you could, we kind of did say to this person, do everything you can in advance of
Before
coming to
you
me.
get to it.
Do all of your homework. And if that was the regular practice, you have an attorney, you have an engineer, whatever it is that you require to actually do your work, make sure that they bring everything to our attention. Because if it's something that we find out at the end, it's really going to slow this up. It's going to add a whole other layer of expense.
We
So
can try, but
Though that is their attorney.
Right.
So they'll be advocating differently than
Right, but a
your attorney
responsible attorney, and I know a few they're here at the table, would certainly, act in good faith.
would.
I'm gonna abandon this line of thought. I know, but they're not gonna drive their client into a ditch.
they're definitely not, but they're going to advocate very strongly for a position that
Yeah.
you might have an attorney on your side that would say, but, yes, but,
I
and you're
know.
not having anybody who's saying the
Yeah,
yes,
I'm
but.
just trying to brainstorm here. I know these are
Yeah.
not.
I'm pretty sure that we could ask a question of all the attorneys in the room right now and probably get multiple different answers.
Well, I think it's important, the work that you guys did already, and find out that.
I don't mean any offense by it, I just mean we can.
Yeah.
I think
feel
that
better
is,
knowing
me
that.
too.
Because we did get some, we did get
The work we did
pushback from
kind of-
some people saying our rates were too high, but now it turns out through the research that you guys have done that
They're not
our rates are
relatively so high.
totally
No,
aligned,
not.
if not
I mean,
less
even in
than.
comparison to-
But I still would suggest if you guys could maybe take a stab at working up a document like that for us with a few, I simplified our document online to take out the categories, create some categories for that you think make sense.
Okay.
And maybe add a category. I think we should just make a document, right?
Well, that's what I'm suggesting. I have a document that's on there, but it's Mary,
And add
Alex's
commercial-
old
And
document.
did everyone
that I've
feel
just
good about
tweaked.
Richard's
Yeah, but I think
recommendations?
maybe mine was too detailed, because certainly I had the number of lots, or 5 acres or something like that, and you brought out, that's really not relevant, but I think that the scale of project.
Disturbance, or how do you quantify?
Area
it?
disturbance.
I mean, the
should be-
monetary value, like you said, what if somebody picks expensive tile and materials and that boosts the cost?
Can we think of just, because I think maybe it would be helpful, if we look at Todd, right? Is there another one? Todd, Gonzalez.
What about the Casertanos who were just here?
Casertanos,
those are
what are
kind
some other projects, and then maybe something larger, like one that had a wetland application, like the.
Clear.
Well, no, that, I mean, that's,
Schmidt-Conway one was a
yeah, the
lot.
Schmidt-Conway one.
Yeah.
That was a lot.
And try to see where they land, because,
Was that on Burbank?
no, it was
No, it
on
was on
that other one.
443.
Valley Farm?
Valley Farm,
Oh,
443 Valley.
okay, yeah, I know.
Because I feel like if we look at some of the different kinds of projects that we might say, actually, we've got this, we're fine, we don't need to change anything.
It would be
Or-
good to have the numbers to know.
It really would.
Because that one is a small,
Would
you know, a
you
small
also-
addition.
I don't mean to interrupt.
No, no.
So, I have the escrow tracking all on Excel. Would you like also for me to scan the invoices that go with the Excel sheet for you to see what the prices are being charged?
No, I
No.
don't, because I don't think we have any control over the prices being charged. I think we just want to see
Okay.
what the scope of the project is relative to the escrow amount, and then what's left.
I mean, the
Or
fees
what's
are
not
set.
left.
Maybe
Well,
we're
do you
right on
need to
target.
know
We
it?
don't need to
That's what I'm
change
saying.
Aaron's
Like,
bill
what are we aiming
versus
for?
legal bill?
Yeah, is that broken out on there? Is it legal?
not.
Somebody has to.
Oh,
I
it's
do
not
not
even
have-
broken out that
I
way.
have
Let's look at the numbers.
AKRF
They're
only
not tracking it.
invoices,
And
and
it
I
turns out
have
that
the
none of the things that are.
We're only talking about a couple of different applications, so I would suggest giving us the invoices.
Nothing that we can do anything about.
What about the lot line that's now the area that Howard was asking about? That was kind of a little
Yeah, that was a
complicated.
very simple matter of.
I don't know that.
That
one,
was
that's
Skips
way
of
from me.
Ferries.
Yeah,
So-
we
Yes,
did
that was-
have a public hearing for that. right?
Skips of Ferry last fall.
Yeah.
And he was with Brian Houston, wasn't he with Brian
There was
Houston?
a, there was a few lot lines.
Yeah, it was
But he brought a
Brian.
map that was colored with by hand with a
Right.
marker.
It was
So I
very
don't know how
cute.
much-
That was a great
It was
example. of-
Such a great map.
I know.
It was so great, I love that one. We, not
It
to
really
raise
was
this
the
into
best one.
subject.
Yeah,
Okay.
look, I think we do need to look at the numbers because maybe there isn't a problem, but we don't know until we look at the numbers.
That's what,
Keep in
that's,
mind, we also try to, like, if there's a project that's gonna have a couple of meetings, like, rather than we wait till the end to issue the invoice sometimes, so it's not like, you know,
Mhm.
two to keep track of, it's one that covers the entire life of the application.
Yeah.
Like, I think for Renee's, that's how it's gonna be, because it started up in, I guess, it was the July meeting and then this meeting, so there's gonna be an invoice in September that
Yeah,
covers
so
the
the-
August
Mhm.
Do you
today and the memo that we did, and it wasn't a lot, but it's not gonna be available
It's
till
not
then.
full, yes, it's
But
not
do you
full.
So there's-
provide
All
estimates
the other ones should be done.
away at the beginning of a project?
Not really.
Would that make sense? I'm sure you probably
No,
don't
I mean,
want
it's
to,
just,
but
we don't know what we do until we dive into the
They- They're
application.
the ones that kept that
like-
going forever.
Doug, what about,
That's
is
all
there
time
any
spent,
way
so.
that you could let us know of applications where somehow we have not covered our consultants?
we don't have any, is what he said.
There's not any.
It's
That's
for
surprising
legal
to me if there
challenges to
are.
the
It's
ZBA, it's
amazing.
ZBA appeals.
Checks that that's supposed to.
yeah.
I really
I think what's supposed to happen is if it's been depleted and there's invoices and there's not enough in the escrow, the town reaches out to the applicant and says you have to replenish your escrow to
Yes,
cover this.
we-
An evergreen
Usually
retainer.
that is
And
me.
Susan doesn't
Right.
say anything
Yeah.
until
That is me.
it's paid.
So that
Yeah.
happens and then,
So, is,
But
So it's
he
not-
paid it all.
Right.
but does the
Yeah.
town cover the
Yeah, they
bill
consider
before it's replenished by the applicant? Is that what happens?
I don't think
Can I ask you a question?
They
Hold on a
do?
sec.
Yes.
Doug, we started
That
out this
happens a lot,
conversation, not
yeah.
to put you on the spot, we started this conversation to talk about reducing fees. And I'm wondering, did this come from the amount of fees that the town is absorbing? Or was this some other, because if it's
There
the
were
amount of.
complaints.
What's on behalf of the public?
They're public complaints.
It's
There are public
the
complaints.
cost, yes.
To the, wait, is it to the town or is it in the
No, to the residents.
residents were complaining?
Yes,
Okay.
two.
The town's not
residents
gonna,
There were
Two
two
residents.
residents that recently complained, and that was what kind of brought this up, is like, they felt like it was an unfairly high amount.
Residents that were in front of us.
And also, Doug, you seeing what
Yeah.
the clear application had to pay. That was something you brought up to me too,
Yeah.
that their fees
They're-
were
I mean,
outrageous, but
it's-
they were with us for months.
there's a lot of costs. I mean, when you guys see the numbers, and when, of course, when I see them, it's all of AKRS bills for, like Aaron just said, 1 or 2 months maybe for some of these projects, but it's also the planning board and the ZBA. And I'm sitting here initialing on these things and I'm like, 5,000, 10,000,
is the legal
15,000.
fees included in that? The
Yeah.
town attorney's fees are also included?
Yeah,
So that's a different voucher that we,
Right, it's all separate.
but it's, so you know, it would be a lot more work for me. You'd probably have an easier time of tallying up AKRF and legal bills compared to each project. For me, it would have to go back to the bookkeeper and then dig up the voucher, because the voucher is gonna be all of Aaron's bills. Planning board and zoning board.
She's starting to give me copies of the vouchers too, just so you know.
We're not tracking this in Excel, let's.
Just in case if she's
We're not
not in the
tracking it,
office,
so-
you can come to me and I'll have them.
It's a problem that we're not tracking them.
Right.
The invoices
Seems to me
against
like
the
the
jobs.
bookkeeper should be tracking
The
it.
bookkeeper, I don't know if she tracks it by case.
Well, your bills are broken
Because
out
it's-
by
by client.
case,
I mean,
right?
it seems to me you would have, clear,
The invoice has the name of the application.
escrow,
That, I
actual
don't wanna speak
invoice.
for the bookkeeper on how she's putting it in, because it might just be under consultant fees, as a line item for the consultant fees. I don't know how she's putting it in the book. I'm not gonna speak for her. I know if it was my books at home, it would be consultant fee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's where I'm
I
coming
mean, but it's
from.
really
I
just,
don't think we
it's
track.
like three possible
I think we can-
categories for the
we can
most
make it
part, right?
clearer
It's
to people, we can
attorneys,
try to be-
AKRF, and then wetland, and there's rarely.
Yeah, maybe it's
more
clear,
than
and
that.
maybe it's
there
more
might be, like,
transparent in terms
an
of what
engineer
the
if there's
cost
an
is. Show
issue,
them
but
the
I-
invoice from the
And
consultant.
sometimes.
I mean, it seems to me we should be,
review
even if it's
before
not
we-
broken out
you know,
though.
Before they
If
pay
you had the
$50,000, they
Lisa has
come
it
to
all
the first
broken out.
meeting, and then we can tell them
Yeah.
at
And
the
maybe
first meeting.
there's a disclosure statement. that we
Each
have.
Excel sheet that I
These are the
have
cost of
is
it.
per
Go ahead with this
application.
So, but
project.
that's, I'm thinking like if you merged them, right, so that you had application, fees, just so that you could then, because really, you want to look at it together. There's really no way to gauge unless you're looking at it together. Okay, well,
No, only
that's fine.
because it's all different types of applications that are,
Horses.
it has to be put on
Yeah, I have to-
there
we've
with
got
the last name of the applicant,
They
what
gotta
they're
eat before they go to sleep.
applying for, if it's
right, we're gonna have to call
ZBA,
it.
if it's planning board, each
So do you want to
applicant has their own spreadsheet.
Okay. Maybe if you can send us Sherry
Decide
Todd,
on what category.
Gonzalez,
Gonzalez,
Schmidt Conway,
Schmidt Conway, those are the ones
we
we
can
can
do it.
and then how about Clear?
Yeah, clear.
I wrote down Clear also.
Clear's a big one.
I don't have a
Clear's
bad feeling.
actually
I'm thinking
complete.
more that
Right
if you
now, they
get
are
a
at
subdivision.
zero.
No, that's right, but I'm saying if you, but if you see
Yeah, I
that
can
the
simply take the
amount that
record,
was
the
needed
PDF.
to do that
Yeah,
job
yeah,
is, you know,
$150,000.
That's the
$150,000,
perfect one to send.
then you would say, okay, for a subdivision of this nature that involves wetlands application and a lot of environmental concern, then you're looking at
At a very large escrow.
a larger escrow. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not saying it should be 150,000,
Yeah.
but I'm saying
I'm sure that
you
it
would
was.
up it from 10,000,
Yeah.
maybe.
I
All
just
right.
did that one forever because they wanted what they wanted, and they didn't like the initial answers, and so they just kept pushing and pushing,
Yes.
and meeting with us until they got more of what they wanted. That's what they were hoping for.
Absolutely.
I feel like they're the ones that.
But that was in, I don't have any bad feelings. but-
No, none of us do.
Big.
Okay, I think we're gonna call it for tonight.
Yeah.
So can I get a motion, first of all, I think you guys are gonna work a little bit more on that. Is that, and we'll talk more about it next month. Can I get a motion to close the meeting?
Second. Everybody.
Okay, Eric, Nicole and Eric, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you all.
Thank you.